What is the first principle of the apocalypse? Abundant supplies, unyielding strength, or a cautious nature? No, none of these. These are merely the basic conditions for survival in the apocalypse, not principles. What then constitutes a... Simply put, when you face a difficult decision in the apocalypse, you must prioritize the first principle above all else, unswayed by external interference. For example, when your survivor team encounters two victims surrounded by zombies and a team member wants to rescue them, should you save them or not? After weighing the risks, you decide not to rescue because the horde is too large, risking casualties. The kind-hearted member accuses you of being cold-blooded and questions your leadership. What choice do you make? Do you assess the victim's environment to minimize risk and attempt rescue? Or do you reprimand the kind member, kick him out, or even step down and let him lead? No, I choose to kill them. Why? Because my first principle of the apocalypse is, kill the sanctimonious first. Such a person, why wait? He was clearly told that rescue would risk casualties, yet he shamelessly insisted on saving the victims. Isn't that blatant moral superiority? Moreover, the appearance of these two victims was too abrupt. What if it's a trap set by another survivor group waiting to reap the benefits while we fight the zombies? If such a person doesn't die, the heavens won't forgive him. Zhang Hao closed the reply he just posted, muttered a few words, and planned to lie down and sleep for a while. Just then shouts came from outside the door. Boss Zhang, today's shipment has arrived. Please inspect the goods. Zhang Hao perked up and quickly walked out. He saw a large number of cargo boxes piled outside, including everything from farmers, 3 punches, Master Kang's instant noodles, canned fruit, chicken, duck, fish, beef, pork, fruits, and vegetables. Boss Zhang, according to your purchase list, we have 30 tons of rice and flour, 1,000 boxes of Master Kang's instant noodles, 40 tons of farmers, 3 punches water. The female supplier manager said with a flattering smile, 30 tons of Jinlong plant oil, 10 tons of various meats, like chicken, duck, fish, and pork. All here. Total value, 500,000. Would you like to check? No need. We've been cooperating for years. I trust you. Just move the goods into the second-floor warehouse. Put fruits and vegetables separately. Don't crush them. Zhang Hao shook his head and gave instructions. All right, rest assured. The manager smiled even more warmly and immediately began directing the staff to move the goods. After a full hour, all the goods were placed. The manager asked Boss Zhang, all the goods are stored. Shall we continue delivering according to the list tomorrow? Keep the list the same. Zhang Hao nodded. All right, well, come again tomorrow. The manager left with her people, but on the way the subordinates were puzzled. However, the consumption of his power is immense, and it only lasts for a second, insufficient to form a sustained thunder armor. Thus, for now, he cannot utilize it unless he reaches the 4th tier awake. Exactly. Other items might be fine since they have a shelf life of years, but fruits and vegetables will spoil in a few days, right? Moreover, a month ago, Zhang Hao dismissed most of his supermarket staff. What's he up to? Hoarding supplies and firing people. It feels like he's preparing for the end of the world. Manager Liu chuckled lightly, unconcerned. Who cares what he's up to? Maybe he has too much money to burn. We don't understand the rich world. Even if the world ends, we still have to make money. You're right, manager. At the supermarket entrance, Zhang Hao watched the supplier's people leave. Indeed, a month ago, he had let go of 8 supermarket employees, leaving only a young man named Fang Ping, to whom he gave a monthly salary of 10,000. Seeing the boss walk in, Fang Ping said respectfully, Boss, I'll go check the goods. Go ahead. Zhang Hao, trusting the supplier was one thing, but the goods still needed to be checked. However, he couldn't do it in front of them. After all, they were old partners of many years, and he had to save face. Fang Ping entered the rear warehouse, came out after a while, and replied, honestly, boss, the goods are fine. They match the purchase list exactly. Good. Keep an eye on tomorrow's delivery. I need to go out. Zhang Hao said. Okay, boss. Fang Ping nodded slightly tactfully, not asking where the boss was going. Zhang Hao looked at him and said with interest, aren't you curious why I'm hoarding all these goods? Curious, but why not ask? Because asking won't help. When you want to tell me, you will. And if I don't intend to tell you? Zhang Hao asked. That's fine too. I have no parents. You're the person I trust most. You wouldn't harm me, or you wouldn't pay me such a high salary. Silly kid, clock out. We're not open today. Zhang Hao was stunned for a moment, then patted his shoulder with a smile and sent Fang Ping off. Then he closed the supermarket door and went up to the second floor. Gazing at the mountainous piles of supplies in the warehouse, an intense feeling of fulfillment rose in his heart. Next, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Snap! A flash of white light, and all the supplies vanished. It wasn't magic. Zhang Hao had stored everything into the mithril ring on his left hand. This ring was a spatial ring with an enormous internal space, 1 billion cubic meters. Time inside was completely frozen, so there was no worry about food spoiling. Why hoard supplies? Simple, the apocalypse was about to break out. At that time, over 80% of Earth's humans would turn into zombies, and within a few years, 15% of humans would die. A few would be bitten by zombies, some would die at human hands, but most would starve to death. The collapse of production lines and various factors would make survival supplies extremely scarce. For a sausage or a piece of bread, even a sip of water, people might turn against each other. And Zhang Hao was a reborn survivor who had fought to the very end in the apocalypse. 3 months ago, he had begun frantically hoarding supplies. Using his identity as a supermarket owner, he placed a deposit of 5 million to secure supplies worth 50 million from the supplier. What about the remaining 45 million balance? Need to say, when the apocalypse comes, it's a freebie. So far, the spatial ring has stocked 1,000 tons of meat, 3,000 tons of rice and flour, 100,000 cases of instant noodles, 4,000 tons of mineral water, 3,000 tons of purified water and treated water. There are 2,700 tons of various vegetable oils, 800 tons of vegetables, 500 tons of fruits, and 100 tons of compressed biscuits. The meat is mainly pork along with chicken, duck, fish, and beef. Most of the instant noodles are cup noodles in various flavors, such as braised and spicy. All kinds of vegetables are available, including Chinese cabbage, green vegetables, radishes, cabbages, etc. Fruits are mostly watermelons and cantaloupes, as these two have the most water content. There are also plenty of apples and pears. As for the compressed biscuits, he has no intention of eating them. On one hand, they are hard to swallow. On the other hand, they are meant for trading for more valuable items in the future. Although they don't taste good and are easy to choke on, they can definitely fill your stomach. This small packet can replace 4 steam buns, so you can imagine how valuable it is in the apocalypse. His 50 million worth of supplies are barely enough. Although Zhang Hao wanted to get more for free, he simply didn't have enough money left. The suppliers aren't fools either. They wouldn't provide supplies beyond the supermarket's capacity. Zhang Hao's supermarket only has 2 floors. Moreover, each floor covers less than 200 square meters, incomparable to those large supermarkets. The suppliers were unwilling to take greater risks. Of course, besides food, he also stocked up on various life tools such as nylon ropes, tents, compasses, flashlights, mobile phones, computers, telescopes, maps, generators, portable solar charging panels, lighters, and so on. Although mobile phones won't have internet in the apocalypse, downloading some learning materials is still possible. He can also play single-player games or watch some action movies to pass the time. As for medicine, Zhang Hao didn't stock up much. He only bought a small amount of alcohol, bandages, gauze, iodine, anti-inflammatory drugs, antibiotics, etc. Because in the early days of the apocalypse, human bodies are still fragile and truly need ordinary medical treatment. But before long, some lucky individuals will awaken various superpowers such as nature, physical, elemental, psychic, spatial, and so on. Humans can gradually enhance their physical constitution through superpowers. Minor injuries will slowly heal without medicine, while severe injuries may cause death before any medication can be used. In his previous life, Zhang Hao awakened the lightning element ability on the very day the apocalypse broke out. This ability is relatively common and resembles the mage class in games. But in reality, not every lightning element awakener becomes a mage. Due to differing talents, even awakeners of the same element develop vastly different abilities. Some can control their power to form spherical lightning in their hands, dealing astonishing damage. Others can spread arcs through their pores to paralyze enemies' nerves, while some can attach lightning to blades to make them sharper. On the second day after awakening his power, Zhang Hao comprehended a unique ability. He could stimulate his own cells with lightning generated from his ability, keeping them in a permanently high activation state, thereby strengthening his physique. When the lightning stimulation reaches its limit, he can continuously emit lightning from every pore, forming a lightning armor that envelopes his body, creating a double-layer defense with his physique. Not only that, stimulating brain cells can also speed up neural reaction. He named this ability Thunderbolt. Relying on his powerful physique, he became fearless against low-level zombies. Zhang Hao kept slaughtering zombies, growing stronger, and soon surpassed most awakeners. Before long, he comprehended long-range lightning abilities. Thus, he became a rare tank mage. He was nearly invincible in both close and long-range combat, able to charge through tens of thousands of low-level zombies alone. From then on, he earned the title Thunder God. Unfortunately, in his previous life, he was ultimately a lone wolf. No matter how strong one is, they can't defeat everyone. Zhang Hao, occupying a well-stocked supermarket, soon attracted the attention of many top awakener teams. The great battle was about to erupt. Outnumbered, he was severely wounded and on the verge of death. However, perhaps fate hadn't abandoned him. He was saved by a hidden earth element awakener, but the enemies pursued relentlessly. To buy time, that awakener sacrificed himself to hold them off. He died gallantly, and Zhang Hao was lucky to be saved. Later, he learned that the awakener was his supermarket employee, Feng Ping. When the apocalypse broke out in his previous life, Zhang Hao wanted to be a lone wolf. So he gave some supplies to the promising Feng Ping and let him join other awakener teams to stick together. But that kid was sentimental and greatly moved by even the smallest favor. He remembered Zhang Hao's kindness and willingly sacrificed his life to hold the rear. Although Zhang Hao later returned to Linhai City, and destroyed the Awakener forces that had besieged him. Fong Ping could never come back. Zhang Hao clenched his fist, his expression resolute. Kid Fong Ping, in this life, you won't have the chance to die for me. I will lead you to build the strongest Awakener faction and become the uncrowned king of Linhai City. The apocalypse cannot be faced alone. No matter how strong one is, they cannot fight the whole world, let alone the surging crises of the apocalypse. A single misstep could lead to death. Only by uniting can they survive. Of course, he wouldn't take just anyone. The principle of better quality than quantity is clear to all. Perhaps in the future, when rebuilding production lines, ordinary people might be needed. But at least in the early stages, they are not needed. So he only wants elites. Only 2 more days until the apocalypse breaks out. The supermarket is big enough to house dozens of people on both floors, perfect as an initial base. But zombies evolve quickly, so it needs reinforcement and modification. After settling his plan, Zhang Hao took action. He ordered a batch of thick steel plates, reinforced the front and back doors with 2 layers, emptied half the shelves, and used steel plates to build 6 small compartments of about 7 to 8 square meters. The compartments looked like shipping containers with wooden beds and simple furniture inside. The shelves on the second floor were completely cleared, and instead of compartments, he placed a bed, sofas, a coffee table, etc. The warehouse was kept intact, storing some long shelf-life supplies to divert attention. Fong Ping's loyalty was good, but still needed further scrutiny. Therefore, only Zhang Hao lived on the second floor for now. With professional help, the modification wasn't difficult and was completed by midnight that very night. The next morning at 7:30, Fong Ping arrived for work on time. He pushed open the door and was shocked. My God, the supermarket's gone. Was there a burglary? It's not a burglary. I just did some renovating. From now on, you don't need to go back to that shabby rental. Just stay here, Zhang Hao said with a smile. Fong Ping hesitated for a moment. I mean, it's okay, but is this kind of renovation allowed? Shouldn't we first report to the authorities? I know, but doing it first is also fine. What if they don't allow it? It won't matter if they don't allow it, because no one will be in charge by then. Fong Ping didn't understand. What do you mean? Zhang Hao patted his shoulder and said calmly, because the apocalypse is coming tomorrow. Everyone will be struggling to survive. Who will have time to bother with such trivial matters? What? The apocalypse is about to break out. Fong Ping was stunned, his expression shifting to one of shock and doubt. Boss, are you kidding me? If it's true, will society collapse? What else did you think? Why do you suppose I stockpiled all these supplies? Did you really think I had nothing better to do? Zhang Hao casually closed the door and said calmly, tomorrow at 1:10 p.m., hordes of zombies will roam the streets. Linhai City has a permanent population of 50 million, and I estimate that 30 to 40 million will turn into zombies. What do you think will happen to society? Boss, will I become a zombie? No. That's a relief. Though Fong Ping was somewhat frightened, he felt considerably more at ease. Of course, he was also sensible enough not to ask such a stupid question as why his boss knew the apocalypse was coming. You trust me that much? Don't you think I'm insane? Zhang Hao asked with a smile. I don't think so. Besides, I've been with you for 4 years now. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be living such a good life. So even if you're crazy, I'm willing to be crazy with you. Fong Ping scratched his head, a simple smile on his face. That smile was so sincere it seemed utterly pure without a trace of ulterior motive. Zhang Hao looked at him, his expression turning serious. This is exactly why I kept you. The other employees are just employees, but you're different. You're a trustworthy partner for the apocalypse. Of course, 2 people can't fight the apocalypse alone. We'll need more like-minded friends, and this modified supermarket will be our initial base. Fong Ping hesitated before saying, but boss, I've read a lot of post-apocalyptic novels, and they all say that supermarkets like this are the first targets for survivors to loot. Isn't that too dangerous? That's true for ordinary people, but it works both ways. We can loot them too, depending on who has the bigger fist. You don't need to worry about that. Zhang Hao said ambiguously. Awakened individuals were certainly formidable, but they had no idea how to enhance their abilities at the outset. They could only progress through gradual exploration, while he could steadily gain an edge over his rivals. Once he earned the title, Thunder God, gathering talent would naturally follow. After establishing his own faction of awakened individuals, he wouldn't have to fear being targeted. Moreover, the supermarket was just an initial base. Zombies evolved at a terrifying pace, but the low-level ones posed little threat at first. Apart from their acute hearing, they were largely useless. But gradually the zombies grew stronger. Their physique improved, and their hearing and sense of smell became increasingly acute. Some zombies could even detect the faintest breath or heartbeat. What was more disturbing was that zombies could awaken too. When tens of millions of mutant zombies flooded Linhai City, that would be the real trouble. By then, no place within the city could serve as a base, and relocation to a more remote suburb would be necessary. Fong Ping asked eagerly, Boss, what should we do today? Do you need my help? You stay here and wait for the delivery from Manager Liu. I'm going to the flower and bird market on East Street to look around and buy a bird. A bird? What kind of bird? A raven. A raven. I've never heard of it. Simply put, a raven is a type of crow. It has all black feathers that shimmer with a blue or purple metallic luster in the sunlight, and it's the largest of all passerine birds. Zhang Hao explained. Oh, I see. Go ahead, boss. Fang Ping nodded obediently. All right, I'm off. Zhang Hao left the supermarket and headed toward the flower and bird market. In truth, the raven he wanted wasn't an ordinary one, but a mutant raven. After the apocalypse broke out, it wasn't just humans on Earth who turned into zombies, various creatures could as well. But some creatures survived and, like humans, had a significant chance of mutating and gaining abilities. Mutated creatures posed a considerable threat to survivors. For instance, large predators like tigers, leopards, and lions. However, some creatures tamed by humans before the mutation became allies and companions to survivors afterward, such as domestic dogs, pet pigs, and the like. What Zhang Hao was searching for was a raven chick on the verge of mutation. Moreover, it was an exceptionally rare psychic type capable of unleashing powerful mental attacks. If an ordinary awakened individual lacked sufficient mental fortitude, a single glare could cause their brain to explode. In his past life, Zhang Hao had been ambushed by this very raven, which his enemy had tamed. Had it not been for the fact that he had already stimulated his brain cells with lightning, elevating his mental strength, he would have died on the spot. But even so, he was still dazed for a second, giving those people the chance to severely wound him. It was for this reason that he understood. No ability was invincible, someone would always be naturally suited to counter yours. So he had to gather elites to strengthen himself, and this psychic raven was his intended second partner. When he arrived at the flower and bird market, he began searching, but after visiting shop after shop, he found nothing. What's going on? The intel from my past life didn't specify which shop, but it was definitely the East Street Flower and Bird Market, and it should have appeared today. Am I too late? Zhang Hao was puzzled and reluctantly entered the last shop. As soon as he stepped inside, the shop owner smiled and said, "Young man, what kind of bird are you looking for?" "A parrot. A pigeon. We have all kinds here." "Do you have crows?" "The largest kind," Zhang Hao replied. The shop owner said apologetically, "You mean a raven?" "I'm sorry, but we did have a raven chick, but it was bought half an hour ago." "Damn, was he really too late?" Zhang Hao was stunned and quickly asked, "Can you tell me who bought it?" The shop owner bowed his head apologetically. "Sir, I'm sorry, but out of professional ethics, we never disclose any buyer's personal information. If you really want one, I can order another from the warehouse. Because as you know, a raven's cries herald death. Most people consider this bird unlucky, so very few buy them, and we usually only have one in stock." "Was that crow blue-eyed?" Zhang Hao pressed. "Yes, it was quite distinctive. He'll give you 1,000. Tell me who the buyer is." "I'm sorry, sir. I really can't." 10,000. "Sir, it's not about the money." 20,000. "Well, this is a bit embarrassing. He'll give you 50,000. Just tell me who the buyer is. I only need their name, nothing else. This 50,000 in cash is yours." Zhang Hao pulled out 5 stacks of cash and slammed them on the counter, his expression brooking no refusal. "Deal." The shop owner nodded, unable to resist. There was no helping it. The offer was just too generous. One truly could not blame him for lacking ambition. A full 50,000 yuan. Selling a single bird only fetched a few hundred, and fledglings were even cheaper. The shop's daily profit was meager at best. He did possess professional ethics, but the offer was simply too tempting to refuse. "Tell me who bought it," Zhang Hao inquired. "Lu Yun." "I believe you've heard that name before," the shopkeeper replied. "Lu Yun? You mean the logistics manager for the fresh produce supplier across all districts of our city? Are you certain it's her?" "I'm certain." Zhang Hao's expression darkened instantly. Lu Yun. This woman had just delivered goods for him yesterday. So in his past life, had she commanded that raven to ambush him in secret? It made sense. Before the apocalypse erupted, others might have known his supermarket had stock, but none knew the exact quantity. Only Lu Yun was among the few aware he had hoarded 10 million in supplies. Indeed, in his past life before his rebirth, he had possessed a spatial ring. Afflicted by pre-apocalyptic anxiety, he instinctively sensed this might be a harbinger of the end times, so he procured a massive shipment from Lu Yun in advance. According to his investigation, as the largest fresh produce supplier in Linhai City, their headquarters housed tens of thousands of employees. When the apocalypse struck, over half turned into zombies. Even the boss did not survive, plunging the entire company into chaos. Later, an unknown awakened managed to reorganize the company and established a survivor base at the head. Then, leveraging the vast reserves of supplies in the supplier's warehouse, she recruited talent and swiftly became one of the top awakened factions in Linhai City. But this person was excessively cautious, always issuing orders through her pet raven. No one knew the true identity of the faction's leader. Now the truth had finally come to light. It was Lu Yun who had plotted against him back then, but because Zhang Hao's own reputation was too formidable. Predictably, she used irresistible incentives to pique other factions' interest in him, rallying numerous awakened to launch a siege against him. To ensure he had no escape route, Lu Yun dispatched her raven to ambush him covertly. The plan was nearly flawless, but unfortunately there was a traitor among the besiegers. Fang Ping, recalling the debt of gratitude for the supplies Zhang Hao had once given him, saved him at a critical moment, though it cost Fang Ping his own life. Had it not been for Fang Ping, he would have perished beyond redemption. Lu Yun, in this life you must die. No one can save you. I swear it. At this thought, Zhang Hao's heart burned with murderous intent. Carrying his boundless hatred, he left the flower and bird market. At that moment, outside the supermarket doors, numerous crates of supplies were being hauled into the warehouse on the second floor. Lu Yun at the forefront was directing her subordinates with an air of authority. She carried a birdcage containing a fledgling, plump, featherless, and of an unidentifiable breed. Beside her, Fang Ping glanced over and asked, "Manager Lu, what breed is that in your cage?" Lu Yun explained with a smile, "A raven, a type of crow. It's just been born. Hasn't opened its eyes yet. I have to watch over it constantly." "A fledgling. Why not raise an adult crow?" Fang Ping didn't quite understand. "Because the moment a fledgling opens its eyes, it imprints on the person before it as its mother. So to tame a crow, you generally have to start with a fledgling. Adult crows are very hard to domesticate, and the process is extremely tedious. I also enjoy the sense of accomplishment from raising a fledgling as it grows," Lu Yun said cheerfully. Fang Ping scratched his head and chuckled. "Is that so? My boss also likes crows. He went to the flower and bird market on East Street this morning. He should be back soon. He likes them too. What a coincidence. A kindred spirit in bird appreciation. They'll have to have a good chat with him later. There's a lot of know-how to raising crows." As Lu Yun spoke, a young man approached from across the street. It was the supermarket owner. Fang Ping walked up to him and, noticing his dejected expression, asked, "Boss, didn't you buy any?" "No, there were a few, but none suited my fancy." "Huh. Manager Lu, you managed to get a raven too. You like this breed as well?" Zhang Hao's gaze fell on the birdcage in her hand. "Yes, I picked this one out with great care. The quality is really impressive, Manager Lu. Would you be willing to sell it to me?" Lu Yun looked hesitant. "I got up at 6 in the morning and spent a long time choosing this one. If you really like it, they'll give you another fledgling another day. I truly love it. 50,000. They'll pay 50,000 for it." "Boss Zhang, it's not about the money. 100,000. Brother, please don't. 1 million. That's my best offer." "No, hey, it's really not about the money. 10 million. I want it." "All right, then ill obliged, Brother Zhang. It's clear you're a true bird lover. I hope you'll take good care of it." Lu Yun feigned reluctance, but inwardly, she was overjoyed. That Zhang guy is a complete idiot. Spending 10 million on a featherless fledgling. What an absolute fool. She would have sold it for 1 million just moments ago, but who would have thought head offer so high? Though as a logistics manager for the supplier, she was quite wealthy, a crow of uncertain survival was certainly no match for 10 million. This deal was an absolute steal, a profit beyond belief. But Zhang Hao didn't transfer the money. Instead, he wrote her an IOU with his thumbprint on it. "Manager Lu, consider the 10 million on credit for now. He'll settle it together with the final payment when the goods are all in all right." "No problem, haha. Boss Zhang is generous." Manager Lu agreed on the spot. Boss Zhang was an honest man, and with an IOU, what was there to fear? Seeing her so delighted, Zhang Hao barely suppressed a grin. He quickly looked down at the cage. Confirming that the fledgling had not yet opened its eyes on its own, the heavy stone in his heart finally settled. Next, he had to deal with Lu Yun herself. Reluctantly, Lu Yun cast a few lingering glances at the fledgling. She couldn't help but offer some advice. "This fledgling should open its eyes around tonight. You'll need to take meticulous care of it then. A fledgling raven requires plenty of nutrition. It's best to feed it every hour. Start with chicken feed mixed with water, and it's best to add some minced pork and greens, kneading it into small meatballs. The meatballs shouldn't exceed 1/4 of the fledgling's head, or it might choke. After it eats, use a straw to give it a few drops of water. Maintain this feeding routine for a month, and it will become self-sufficient." Thank you, Manager Lu." Zhang Hao nodded. She was quite kind-hearted. "But you still have to die since you stirred up trouble in your past life." After her instructions, Lu Yun looked at the supermarket with puzzlement. "Boss Zhang, are you planning to close the supermarket? Why did you remodel the interior with so many containers?" "Yes, I'm closing it." Lu Yun didn't ask why, but a hint of worry crept into her eyes. This Zhang guy had hoarded so many supplies, dismissed his employees, and remodeled the supermarket. Could he be planning to renege on the final payment? That wouldn't do. She'd be scolded to death by her boss if that happened. Seeing her expression, Zhang Hao said with a half-smile, "Are you worried it'll stiff you? This is a society governed by law. How could I possibly have the nerve?" "That's true, but since today is the last delivery, shouldn't you settle the final payment a bit?" Lu Yun cautiously tested the waters. Even just a partial payment would be fine. "It's not that we don't trust you, but 45 million is no small sum, Boss Zhang. What do you say?" "Sure, no problem." Zhang Hao flashed a smile. "Come to my supermarket before noon tomorrow. They'll give you the final payment in person and treat you to a proper meal." You've worked hard these 3 months. That would be wonderful, Boss Zhang. He'll be there on time tomorrow. Manager Lu agreed happily. Zhang Hao chuckled inwardly. Heh, settle the final payment. He'll be waiting for you tomorrow right on time to meet your doom. The next day at 11:30, Lu Yun arrived early at the second floor of the supermarket, followed by 2 employees. Fang Ping greeted them courteously and ushered them in. Seeing the arrivals, Zhang Hao rose from the sofa. Manager Lu, you're here so early. I thought you'd come at noon. Seems you're rather anxious. I have no choice. Our boss is pressing for payment. The sooner the better. Frankly, I don't care when the final payment comes. After all, I only make a meager profit from this deal. Lu Yun put on a pitiful act. I understand. Have a seat, and let's talk. Thank you. Lu Yun and her 2 employees sat down. Fang Ping served them Longjing tea, which they sipped after expressing their thanks. They chatted idly as noon approached. Lu Yun grew restless. Boss Zhang, are you going to pay the remaining balance today or not? Just give me a straight answer. If you're really strapped for cash, we can come another day. Fang Ping also looked at his boss, waiting for his response. Ever since he learned the apocalypse was imminent, he knew his boss intended to default. But he couldn't fathom why he had asked Lu Yun to come to the supermarket today. Zhang Hao was candid. I can't pay today. Why didn't you say so earlier? Are you playing me? Boss Zhang, that's not very decent. Not just today. I won't be able to pay in the future either. Lu Yun's face twisted with fury. What do you mean? Are you planning to renege? Zhang Hao, let me tell you. No supermarket in Linhai City would dare to freeload from our company. Don't you believe he'll sue you immediately? We signed a contract. It's all in black and white. They'll make you pay until you're left with nothing. Just you wait. With that, Lu Yun rose angrily, ready to leave with her subordinates. But the moment they stood up, their eyes blurred with stars. Dizziness overwhelmed them as if drained of all strength, and they collapsed limply. You drugged the tea. What are you trying to do? Pointing at the teacup on the table, Lu Yun lost consciousness before she could finish along with her men. Fang Ping was utterly shocked. Holy crap. His boss had actually drugged Lu Yun. What was he planning? No way. Would he have to stand watch? He wondered how long his boss would take. Xiao Fang, go close the door. Zhang Hao instructed. Sure, boss. Coming to his senses, Fang Ping locked the supermarket's first floor door. Returning, he asked, Boss, what's next? Tie them all up. Make it secure. Got it. Fang Ping fetched nylon ropes from the storeroom and bound their hands and feet tightly, wrapping them round and round. To prevent them from escaping, he even fastened each person to a leg of the coffee table. Well done, Zhang Hao. Hey, it's nothing. 10 minutes left before the apocalypse arrives, Xiao Fang. Are you scared? No, because I'm not alone. You gave me a good life before the apocalypse, and I trust you'll do the same after. Fang Ping thought seriously. I'm not very sharp, but I'll do whatever you tell me. I just hope you won't abandon me. What if I told you to kill someone? Zhang Hao asked. Kill? I can do that. Who do you want me to kill? No problem. They'll finish her off right now. Fang Ping didn't hesitate long. After all, in the apocalypse, murder wouldn't be a crime. He grabbed an ashtray from the table, ready to smash it into Lu Yun's head. Though his hands trembled slightly, his stance was fierce like a reckless brute. Hold on, not yet. Zhang Hao shook his head with an amused smile. This kid was truly rash. Without asking any questions, he was ready to kill with an ashtray. Even a fool wouldn't be this reckless. Yet wasn't this a form of trust? Time ticked by. At 12:10, chaos erupted outside. Countless people fell in agony, black sludge oozing from their mouths, while friends, companions, and loved ones turned into zombies. Screams and cries of anguish filled the air. Some begged for help, others were helpless, and a few simply gave up. Hoo-hoo. Ugh. Honey, don't scare me. Why are you spitting black blood? Damn it. Don't bite me there. That's my pride and joy. Haha, what's so scary about zombies? Come on, bite me. I've always wanted to become a zombie. Help. Help. My whole family turned into zombies. Someone save me. It's over, it's over. The apocalypse is here. Everyone run. Chaos and blood became the theme of the moment, most people struggling to save themselves. Through the sealed window, Fang Ping witnessed the horrifying scene, covering his mouth as he trembled. Despite mentally preparing himself, the sight outside still filled him with fear. Just then Lu Yun woke up. Dizzy, she barely noticed the chaos outside, but was startled by the rope's bind. Zhang Hao, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? This isn't funny. We live in a society of law. You're asking for trouble. You're so noisy. Zhang Hao irritably dug at his ear. Then he picked up a fire axe nearby and slowly walked toward her. The blade scraped across the floor with a grating sound, instantly turning the atmosphere terrifying. Seeing this, Lu Yun's face twisted in panic. Are you going to kill me? I don't recall ever offending you. We have no grudges. Why are you doing this? I beg you, spare me. Do whatever you want with me, just let me live. Sorry, I can't. He raised the fire axe and swung it down. With a thud, blood spurted from Lu Yun's face. She clutched her throat, convulsed a few times, and breathed her last, filled with resentment. Oh, that feels good. Zhang Hao felt an immense sense of relief. In this life, we indeed had no grievances. But I'm sorry, in your past life you crossed me. Just at that moment a low growl came from beside them. The two employees were vomiting black liquid. Their eyeballs turned completely white, and their pupils contracted into black dots. Their veins turned blackish purple, and their skin was deathly pale, looking utterly terrifying. However, bound by nylon ropes, they could only stay in place, unable to move. Fong Ping hesitated for a long time before finally gathering his courage and said, "Boss, since they've turned into zombies, let me kill them." "Aren't you scared?" Zhang Hao asked in surprise. Fong Ping replied with a firm expression, "Being scared is useless. I have to take the first step sooner or later, so I might as well overcome my fear as soon as possible. I need to grow stronger and not always hold you back." Zhang Hao pondered for a moment and said, "Your idea is good, but these low-level zombies aren't that weak. Let me demonstrate first, and you can take the second one." "How about that? Whatever you say, boss." Fong Ping nodded obediently. "Remember, the biggest weakness of these zombies is their heads. You must aim accurately when striking. But in the early days of the apocalypse, human strength isn't great, and blades might not hit the mark. Even if they do, they might not sever the neck. Those unskilled with such weapons will find it hard to exert force, and the blade might even get stuck in the bone. So in the beginning you need a weapon that's easy to wield and requires little technique. The easiest to use is a fire axe. This weapon requires almost no skill. Just swing it with both hands and chop wildly. As long as your aim isn't too poor, you can kill a zombie. The only downside is that fire axes are heavy. Most people lack stamina early on and might tire after a few swings. It's effective against 1 or 2 zombies. Zhang Hao pointed at the zombie and continued, "Zombies feel no pain. If your aim is poor, aim for their legs. Without legs, they lose their threat. Also, they only have the urge to eat humans. People either get bitten to death or escape, but get infected and turn into zombies. Never let them bite you. Oh, and try not to touch the black liquid oozing from their mouths and bodies." Fong Ping raised his hand and asked, "Is there a risk of infection from that black liquid?" "No, but it's disgusting." Zhang Hao glanced at him. Then he turned and swung the fire axe. With a crack, the zombie's head fell off, splattering dirty black liquid all over the ground. Fong Ping was stunned. "So cool. You can be cool too. Come on." Zhang Hao smiled and handed him the fire axe. Fong Ping followed suit and chopped off the second zombie's head. Though he was a bit rusty and needed 2 strikes to succeed, it was still quite impressive. Fong Ping looked excited. "Boss, what now? Go out and kill zombies. What's the rush? It's too chaotic outside. Let's wait until things calm down. Besides, the most important thing now is to understand our abilities and gradually strengthen them to kill more zombies efficiently." Zhang Hao patiently instructed. "All right." Fong Ping nodded. He had awakened Earth-type abilities, but hadn't yet mastered any skills. As his abilities matured, he could remotely create Earth spikes to kill zombies, and might even burrow into the ground for fast movement. Fong Ping grumbled, "Isn't that just like Earth Traveler's Son?" "What's wrong with Earth Traveler's Son? Such a powerful survival skill is amazing. Facing a horde of zombies, you can just burrow into the ground. Who can bite you?" Zhang Hao comforted him. "Boss, what type are your abilities?" "Lightning type." "Wow, so you're like Xikongzhen. You'll definitely be strong in the future." "That goes without saying. Enough talk, time to get down to business." Zhang Hao took a dagger and pried open the skulls of the 2 zombies. He stirred around and found 2 small crystal cores, each the size of a mung bean and black in color. After cleaning them, he opened his mouth and swallowed the cores. Then he sat cross-legged and decisively activated his abilities. Sizzle, sizzle. Lightning surged throughout his body. Under the immense stimulation, his cells became increasingly active. Except for his head, all other parts of his body were visibly strengthening. The most noticeable change was that right from the start, the outline of abdominal muscles began to appear. Around his body surface, faint arcs of electricity flickered and vanished, looking incredibly cool. After 2 minutes, he opened his eyes. Zhang Hao stroked his chin deep in thought. "Thanks to my past life experience, I could use the initial ability Lightning Body Tempering on the very first day. Those 2 level 1 ability cores made me a bit stronger. You'll need more cores to unlock other abilities. My physical enhancement isn't huge. I may not match a level 2 zombie, but taking on 3 or 4 level 1 ones won't be a problem. Zombies, awakened beings, and mutated creatures all have levels. Levels 1 to 3 are low-level zombies with slightly keener hearing and a tiny chance of awakening abilities. Levels 4 to 6 are mid-level zombies with highly developed senses of smell and hearing, a certain chance of awakening abilities and basic skill use. Levels 7 to 9 are high-level zombies. Most can awaken abilities and master various skills, making them incredibly formidable in combat. Level 10 and above are known as transcendent. All zombies produce ability cores in their brains. Awakened beings can absorb these cores to enhance their abilities, improving faster and learning new skills. Higher-level zombie cores are larger and contain more energy. Fong Ping blinked and asked, "So these are the ability cores you mentioned, boss? They look weird." Do we have these in our brains? Yes, zombies, awakened beings, and mutated creatures all have them. Zhang Hao pointed at Lu Yun on the ground and said with a half-smile, it's not just zombie cores that make you stronger. Human and mutated creature cores work too. I plan to let you absorb Lu Yun's ability core. What a... Can I refuse? Fang Ping looked troubled. He felt a bit uneasy about it. No. I know it bothers you, but our targets aren't humans. If others come after us, we can't waste their cores. You'll get used to it eventually. Zhang Hao took the dagger and pried open Lu Yun's skull. He stirred for a long time, scattering white and red brain matter everywhere, but found no trace of an ability core. What's going on? There's nothing. Zhang Hao was stunned. What did this mean? It meant that this woman was from start to finish a completely ordinary person. In an instant, he understood why Lu Yun had never shown herself in his past life, always using the Raven to relay her orders. Because she simply dared not face awakened beings. Though awakened beings and ordinary people looked almost identical on the surface, using abilities easily revealed the difference. Lu Yun couldn't prove her status to her subordinates. No awakened being would willingly follow an ordinary person's lead, so Lu Yun had to keep up the pretense. The presence of the mutated Raven also prevented her subordinates from suspecting anything. But it had to be said, this woman was remarkably bold. In his past life, she had built one of the top awakened organizations in Linhai City as an ordinary person. She was just a bit unlucky, but she still fit the mold of a female overlord. It seems there's none left for you. What a pity, Zhang Hao sighed. No pity at all. We'll just kill a few more zombies later, and we'll have some. Fang Ping was puzzled. Boss, I don't quite understand. Since humans can awaken abilities, why aren't most awakened ones much different from ordinary people in the apocalypse? Like me, I'm an awakened one, but why do I have to absorb ability crystals for a while before I can use various powers? What's the reason? Zhang Hao explained, it's actually simple. Let me use a game as an example. Abilities are like your mana bar and ability crystals are like your experience points. Only when you level up can you unlock corresponding skills. And saying that early stage awakened ones are no different from ordinary people is a mistake. Absorbing ability crystals rapidly enhances physical fitness. The gap between a first-level awakened one and an ordinary person isn't too obvious. But once you reach second-level awakened and above, there's a huge improvement. One person can easily take on a dozen or more zombies. Fang Ping suddenly understood. Oh, so the speed at which awakened ones unlock skills depends on each person's talent. Exactly. Those like me who unlock skills on the very same day are even rarer than phoenix feathers. Boss is so amazing. I wonder when he'll be able to comprehend it. Fang Ping felt a bit disheartened. On one hand, he worried that his talent was insufficient and had hold them back later. On the other hand, he feared that without unlocking skills, he couldn't help his boss better. Zhang Hao saw through his thoughts and patted him on the shoulder. Don't be discouraged. Your talent is also very strong. You'll unlock skills soon enough. Really? Really? Zhang Hao wasn't joking. Back then, when so many awakened ones from Linhai City besieged him, all of them the top-tier elites of Linhai, Fang Ping had managed to escape with him from the crowd. That alone proved that his ability talent was absolutely top-notch. Boss, then let's go kill zombies now. It's still too chaotic outside. There must be a lot of zombies on the streets. If we get surrounded, it'll be really dangerous. Let's wait until things settle down. Zhang Hao shook his head. They could actually kill zombies now as long as they chose the right place. But the problem was that the supermarket was on a street-facing location. The front entrance was definitely not an option. The back door led to an upscale residential area, but the layout was too complex. And there were many zombies there too. If they got trapped, it would be troublesome. They'd wait until his ability reached level 2 before considering entering. Above the supermarket were old apartment buildings, low-rise residences without elevators with a maximum of 7 floors. The back door opened into an alley with entrances to the buildings on both sides. Such residential buildings could serve as a novice dungeon. Fang Ping could also grow quickly, but Zhang Hao still had a little one to take care of. The Raven had opened its eyes last night. He hadn't slept all night, feeding it every hour. It had exhausted him. Let Fang Ping take care of it. He worried that the affinity wouldn't be high enough and the taming would fail. Hadn't he expended all this effort just to make the little one acknowledge him as its master? After all, this was a psychic-type mutated creature. Although psychic abilities varied in strength, this mutated Raven was definitely among the best. In his past life, his spiritual strength could rank in the top 10, yet this Raven could make even him dazed for a second, proving how powerful its ability talent was. And if nothing unexpected happened. Back then, Lu Yun must have had doubters among her subordinates, but they were all probably shot in the head. Psychic attacks were hard to detect, making others mistakenly believe she was a psychic-type awakened one, thus allowing her to pull the wool over everyone's eyes. With such an incredible mutated Raven, how could he not be diligent? Now that the apocalypse had begun, the Raven should have awakened too. He wondered if there would be any changes. Zhang Hao looked at the chick in the birdcage. The little one had already grown black down feathers. Not many, but it looked much better than at the beginning. It had also grown in size, its blue-white eyes shimmering with intelligence. It was actually quite cute. Zhang Hao asked with concern, "Kaka, are you hungry? He'll get you something to eat." The raven shook its head, indicating it didn't want any. Zhang Hao was astonished. This little one actually understood. It had only mutated a few minutes ago, and its intelligence had already developed to this level. No, that wasn't right either. Perhaps besides humans, crows were already highly intelligent animals. Their compact brain structure made their brain cells more complex, giving them strong learning abilities. Thus, crows could use or create tools to achieve goals, like the classic story of a crow drinking water. Domesticated crows had even more remarkable intelligence, able to mimic human speech like parrots and even count. Was it the combination of highly intelligent brain structure and its innate powerful psychic talent that made this mutated raven so exceptional? This hypothesis was very reasonable. To test its intelligence, Zhang Hao cautiously asked, "Kaka, who am I to you?" The raven cawed twice, "Mama, Fang Ping." Zhang Hao. Both of them were stunned. This crow could talk. Wasn't that abnormal? Holy crap. Could it be a reincarnated too? However, subsequent experiments revealed that although it could understand most speech, it could only utter simple words and short phrases. It couldn't yet make complex responses. But regarding calling him Mama, Zhang Hao felt he needed to correct it. "Kaka, you should call me Baba, not Mama. I'm male. Do you understand what male means?" "Off." The raven shook its head adorably, looking utterly confused. "All right, repeat after me, Baba, Baba." The raven called out, "Aha, not aha, it's father. Don't you understand pinyin? Aha, aha, it's father. Father. Can't you even learn 2 syllables? You're infuriating me." The raven. "Hey, good son, don't be mad, don't be mad." Zhang Hao. Fang Ping. Good heavens. This crow was even taking advantage of the boss. Truly impressive. Ha ha ha, even the sneakiest trickster couldn't top this. "So you were pretending to be stupid just now? You actually learned it already. Just to mess with me. You're really mischievous." Zhang Hao was so angry his veins bulged. The raven shook its head adorably, pretending not to understand. Zhang Hao picked up the birdcage and said fiercely, "Do you believe I'll stew you right now? I've never had iron pot braised crow in this life." The raven backed down. "Wrong, Baba." Seeing it so submissive, Zhang Hao laughed in spite of his anger. But honestly, seeing that it could already tease him right after awakening, it wasn't in vain that had stayed up all night feeding it. And seeing the boss get the short end for the first time, Fang Ping beside him was already laughing uncontrollably. Zhang Hao drew a finger across his throat and gave a dangerous look. "What are you laughing at? Don't tell anyone about my embarrassing moment. Got it? Or else you're dead, dead, dead." Fang Ping suppressed his laughter. "Okay, dead, dead, dead." With this incident concluded and confirmation that the raven had bonded to its master boss, Zhang finally felt at ease. After resting for a few hours and ensuring the outside had stabilized, Zhang Hao instructed Fang Ping, "You guard the raven on the 2nd floor. They'll go to the upper apartment block to kill zombies. Once it can act independently, you can join me. How do I contact you in an emergency?" Fang Ping nodded. "I've hoarded 100 walkie-talkies. Oh well, use those to communicate." "All right, boss." Zhang Hao walked downstairs and opened the back door. The back door led to a narrow alley that slanted toward Jinwei residential area, which had 3 gates, east, west, and south. The supermarket's rear faced the south gate, but since the residential area only opened the east and west gates, only 3 scattered zombies roamed this alley. "Only 3. Let's take them out first, then clear the first unit." With his plan set, Zhang Hao began to act. Holding a riot shield in his left hand and a fire axe in his right, he approached the nearest zombie. The zombie spotted him like a dog, seeing filth black drool dripping from its mouth as it charged at him with a howl. Zhang Hao thrust his riot shield forward, easily repelling the zombie. Seizing the moment, he swung his fire axe, and with a crisp crack, the head was severed from the body. After dispatching the first zombie, the other 2 snarled and rushed at him, but he took them down one by one with... Thanks to the lightning tempering, I can swing a fire axe with one hand for dozens of times without tiring, but this is far from enough. I need to absorb more ability crystals, and I must stimulate the epidermal cells of my skin as much as possible to enhance my bonus defense. If even a first-level zombie can't bite through my skin, I won't need the riot shield anymore. A dual-axe warrior would double the zombie-killing efficiency. Wouldn't that be thrilling? Zhang Hao was eager. He quickly retrieved 3 crystals, returned to the supermarket's first floor to absorb them, then went out again, turning left to ascend the stairs. The lower 2 floors of this apartment block were shops with residences starting from the 3rd floor. Each floor in the first unit had only 2 apartments, so he headed straight for 301 and 302 on the 3rd floor. Standing at the door, Zhang Hao pondered briefly. The apartment likely contained zombies with a small chance of survivors. If it were zombies, breaking in would be fine, as without a key he'd have to force the door anyway, which would make noise. But if there were survivors, barging in directly seemed impolite. So he decided to knock 3 times as a courtesy. If no one responded or zombie growls were heard, he'd break and kill the zombies and collect supplies. If someone answered, he'd move on. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking echoed. From within came a chilling. The zombies seemed drawn to the door. Zhang Hao's eyes gleamed. Oh, lucky me. I hit the zombie jackpot. Without hesitation, he swung his fire axe and smashed it down. With a loud crash. Having absorbed 5 ability crystals, his strength was enough to shatter the thin security door in one blow. 3 zombies inside howled and tried to charge out, but he wasn't foolish. If they all rushed out, he'd be caught in a pincer attack. The shield could only cover one side. So he pressed his riot shield forward, wedging the 3 zombies in the doorway. Then with 3 consecutive swings, all 3 fell dead, as fragile as paper. Thus, by cleverly blocking the doorway, Zhang Hao cleared all zombies from the 1st to the 6th floor. Across 4 floors and 8 apartments, he accumulated 32 ability crystals and absorbed 15 of them. Typically, a first-level awakener could reach level 2 by absorbing 20 crystals, but each awakener had an individual absorption limit. 15 per day was already his maximum. For an ordinary awakener, 10 was impressive and 4 or 5 was the norm. Moreover, as Zhang Hao absorbed ability crystals, he also used some energy to convert into lightning to enhance his physical strength. He estimated he needed 15 more to reach level 2. No rush, no rush. Other awakeners don't even know about these crystals in zombies' brains yet. By the time they discover them, will already be far ahead. They'll keep 15 crystals for tomorrow, give 10 to Fang Ping, and the remaining 7 to the Raven. It might. Moreover, as Zhang Hao absorbed ability crystals, he also used some energy to convert into lightning to enhance his physical strength. He estimated he smashed open the security door, and a horde of zombies surged out, pushing him back despite his shield. Holy crap! Did I hit the zombie crowd jackpot? 30 zombies. Was this apartment having a family party before the apocalypse? Zhang Hao was stunned. 30 zombies. He could handle at most a dozen without being flanked. With his current physical strength, 30 was too much. The zombies were about to break free. With no choice, he beat a hasty retreat. Fortunately, his physical condition was superior to theirs, and in a flash he was back in the supermarket, having shaken them off completely. Fang Ping was already waiting at the door, looking worried. Boss, are you okay? I'm fine. Good haul. Try absorbing some. See how many you can take. Fang Ping took the crystals from his boss and began absorbing. 5 minutes later, 12 crystals had vanished. Boss, I can't absorb anymore. If I try, the crystal in my brain feels like ITLL burst. Not bad. High talent. Zhang Hao nodded. Absorbing 12 crystals a day was exceptional for a first-level awakener. Boss, how many did you absorb? Fang Ping asked curiously. 15. Wow, amazing. Boss, why can each person absorb a different number of crystals? Isn't it simple? Everyone's talent is different, and the crystal's capacity for ability varies. It's like the human stomach. Each person's stomach size differs, so absorption efficiency varies too. Zhang Hao explained patiently. Some eat more, some eat less. Too much leads to indigestion. So they need to digest. The crystal in the brain works the same way. Oh, I see. Fang Ping had a sudden realization. What about Crow? He'll feed it a bit. Zhang Hao went upstairs, approached the cage, and held up a crystal. Little one, can you absorb this? I want it, the Raven croaked eagerly. Call me Daddy, and he'll give it to you. Daddy, good child. Remember to absorb them one at a time. Zhang Hao smiled like a doting father. As he instructed, he handed over 5 mung bean-sized ability crystals. The Raven opened its beak and swallowed all 5 at once. What the hell? What are you doing? Even if you can absorb them all at once, won't you choke? You reckless thing. Zhang Hao panicked and reached for water to save it, but the little creature was perfectly fine. Instead, its black feathers grew thicker and its size increased slightly. The Raven's eyes showed a human light, craving its beak wide open. Daddy, I want more. When your own child wants to eat, what can you do? Naturally, you satisfy it. Zhang Hao didn't hesitate and took out the crystal core from his bosom. This was originally reserved for tomorrow, yet he felt no reluctance. He understood clearly that once Fang Ping and the Raven grew stronger, killing zombies would be far faster than doing it alone. By then, it wouldn't be just 30 crystal cores a day, but dozens, or even 100. Moreover, he wanted to see just how formidable this little creature's talent was. One after another, then 2 after 2. Adding the previous 5, the Raven had absorbed a total of 14. Only slightly less than me. Tisk, isn't this like a cow and 10 bulls? Absolutely incredible. Zhang Hao was somewhat surprised, but he had anticipated it. Such talent was only a hair's breadth behind his own. Frankly speaking, in his past life, most of the renowned awakened individuals in Linhai City couldn't even match this Raven. No wonder it had been able to ensnare him with a mental skill back then. Notably, the Raven's black feathers gleamed as it grew from 7 or 8 centimeters to 20, and basic conversation was no longer an issue. Completely self-sufficient, now freed from the cage's confines, the Raven flew around the 2nd floor. After a long while, it landed on its master's shoulder. Zhang Hao couldn't help but muse. So you can fly now, little raven. You've grown so big in just a day. I wonder when you'll take me flying with you. The raven grumbled. I see you as my father, yet you want to ride me. Zhang Hao retorted, is that not allowed? No. Why not? You're my father, not a knight. But I can't fly. You can learn on your own. But I have no wings. How can I learn it? No wings. Is that my fault? You damn. Getting cocky, are you? Don't believe he'll stop giving you crystal cores. Zhang Hao's blood pressure spiked again. The raven stubbornly replied, I can get them myself. How will you manage that? Zombies feel no pain and mental attacks are useless against them. I can kill humans. That Fong fellow is quite good. One day he'll just glare and his head will burst. Earth-type crystal cores must be delicious. The moment those words were spoken, the atmosphere shifted. Zhang Hao placed his hand on the raven's head, eyes narrowing. You're joking, right? Aren't you? Tell me, are you joking? The raven wanted to stand its ground, but seeing the man's expressionless face, it sensed danger and promptly bowed its head in apology. I was joking, sorry, Dad. Zhang Hao nodded approvingly, his tone cryptic. Admitting your mistakes and correcting them makes you a good child. Raven am your father, so you must listen to me. No matter when or where Fong Ping is one of us. He cannot be killed. Other humans are fair game, but who to kill will be decided by me. Understood? The raven trembled. Understood. Good. Let's go. Continue killing zombies. Zhang Hao withdrew his hand and headed toward the supermarket's first floor. In truth, if the raven had dared to talk back even once more, his hand would have crushed its head. He did intend to build a force of awakened individuals, and elites were crucial. But only if they were utterly loyal. Without loyalty, even the most gifted would become a ticking time bomb. The raven's earlier actions showed it truly feared him, not in terms of power, but deep in its soul. Such fear was hard to fake, so he spared the still young raven. He wasn't worried about future betrayal either. Back then, even an ordinary person like Lu Yun had tamed it, as Zhang Hao didn't believe he couldn't do the same. Exiting the supermarket through the back door, the alley now held 7 more zombies, evidently the ones from the 7th floor earlier. At first, Fong Ping was clumsy, but under Zhang Hao's guidance, he quickly grew adept. They dispatched the 7 zombies, then moved on to those in the first stairwell. Fortunately, after the people left, the zombies didn't stay put, but wandered aimlessly, so they weren't densely packed. Soon, all 30 zombies were slain. Arriving at room 702 on the 7th floor, Fong Ping asked, Boss, should we break down the door? Wait, knock first. Breaking in straight away wasn't wise. What if it was another jackpot of zombie horde? Learning from last time, if the sounds inside were chaotic, they'd skip it. They'd wait until tomorrow when he advanced to a 2nd level awakened before dealing with it. If the numbers weren't too large, they'd break and hold the position and chop them down. A simple enough operation. Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks, no response. Zhang Hao and Fong Ping exchanged glances, then, with a sudden smash, the door burst open. Fong Ping raised his riot shield only to find 2 zombies emerging, both naked. A man and a woman, seemingly a couple. The man was slovenly, the woman trembling. But black viscous fluid coated their bodies, offering no allure. A thoroughly grotesque sight. Damn, no looking at indecent things. Fong Ping exclaimed, covering his eyes. In his bashfulness, he swung his axe twice, lopping off the zombie couple's heads. Boss Zhang was speechless. Bashful, my foot. He clearly wanted to peek with gaps between his fingers. Go ahead and look if you want. What's there to be shy about? Zhang Hao teased. It's about respecting them, Fong Ping said, blushing. Respect my ass. They're zombies now. You respect them, but they won't respect you. If you try to kiss that female zombie, shed tear your jaw off. Believe me. Boss, stop it. That's disgusting. Your mental fortitude needs work. Still room for improvement. Zhang Hao curled his lip and began scavenging supplies. Households like this usually had few resources, just some frozen meat and vegetables. Without electricity in the apocalypse, refrigerators were useless, but since only half a day had passed, the food hadn't spoiled. Though scant, every bit counted. Small gains add up. Once they cleared the other 3 units, they'd amass a decent. They headed to the bathroom door. Usually there'd be some toilet paper or sanitary pads inside, better than nothing. Such a door didn't require the boss effort of Fong Ping gave it a gentle shove, and it swung open. But then, a blade flashed inside. A young man with a buzz cut swung a kitchen knife, yelling, Zombie, die you bastard. They'll fight you to the death. However, Fong Ping had already raised his shield. The knife struck it without leaving a mark. Fong Ping sighed, Bro, you've got the wrong target. We're not zombies. The buzz-cut man's face lit up with surprise. Spotting Zhang Hao, he exclaimed, You scared me. I thought a zombie was breaking in. Boss Zhang, is that you? Did you come specifically to save me? You are. Zhang Hao was embarrassed. He had no idea who this person was. The crew-cut young man said, My name is Zhao Hai. I often buy things at your supermarket. You don't remember me. Well, how come you're in the bathroom? Zhang Hao still had no recollection, but could only play along. Most people in this apartment building had shopped at his store. How could he possibly know every single one of them? Both my parents turned into zombies. I was in the bathroom at the time. I couldn't react in time, so I had to lock myself in. What's happening to the world? Why did the apocalypse come so suddenly? Sigh, why were my parents so unlucky? Zhao Hai grew sentimental. Fang Ping sighed, my condolences. Stay strong. It's okay, I can handle it. Zhao Hai spotted his slain parents at the doorway, a look of surprise on his face. Were you specifically coming to save me? Zhang Hao didn't want him to misunderstand. We did kill them, but not to save you. We cleared floors 1 through 7. Unit 1 has no more zombies. We'll head to other units to clean them out. Damn, that fierce. You wiped out floors 1 to 7. Can I join you? Zhao Hai exclaimed. Have you awakened an ability? What ability? It's a kind of feeling. Awakened ones just know they're awakened. I'm not sure. I was taking a dump earlier and felt something. So do you dare to kill zombies? No way, they're zombies. That's suicide. Zhang Hao refused. Then sorry, you can't join us. Zhao Hai grew anxious, frowning. Why? You guys are so strong. What's the harm in taking me along? I may not know how to do anything. Can't cook, can't wash clothes. But I can cheer you on. As strong as you are, don't you need moral support? Fang Ping was rolling his eyes. You are useless at everything, and you still have the nerve to ask to join. How thick-skinned can this guy be? No need. Zhang Hao shook his head. But can you give me some food then? Zhao Hai, why would I? You have so much stuff in your supermarket. Giving me a little wouldn't hurt, right? No. How can you be so stingy? Zhang Hao couldn't be bothered with him anymore. He called out to Fang Ping and headed for the door. But who would have thought the guy would keep pestering them, shouting, Hey, you broke my door, and you're just leaving like that. You're all staying put. I'm not an unreasonable man. I won't ask for much. Just compensate me with 10 boxes of instant noodles, 10 jugs of water, and 50 cans. Hearing this, Zhang Hao turned back, a faint smile on his face. What else do you want? Go on. Well, give me a few bags of rice and flour too. Fresh ones. Old stuff doesn't keep. And 2 boxes of dried noodles. If you could also escort me to a safe place. Before he could finish, a sharp sound rang out. Zhang Hao's axe came down, cleaving the man in 2 at the waist. Blood and entrails spilled everywhere. Even in death, Zhao Hai's face still wore a blissful smile, as if he had already seen the 10 boxes of instant noodles in his hands. Zhang Hao didn't spare him another glance. He turned and left with Fang Ping. This kind of person, though not as nauseating as a saint, had definitely crossed the line. They had helped him by killing the zombies. As an ordinary man locked in a bathroom, he would either starve to death or be bitten by zombies if he came out. There was almost no chance of survival. In a way, they had saved his life, yet he still had the audacity to demand supplies. And with such an outrageous request, where was his shame? Killing Zhang Hao felt not a shred of guilt. Today had started off fruitful, but Zhao Hai had soured the mood. After the kill, he felt much better. Over the next 10 hours, they cleared all the zombies from the remaining 3 units, accumulating a total of 112 first-grade crystal cores. It was a bountiful harvest. By now it was late into the night. Even awakened ones needed rest. The 2 of them and the Raven headed back to the supermarket. The Raven took the night watch. The night passed without incident. The next morning, bright and early, the duo and the Raven began absorbing the crystal cores. Zhang Hao sat cross-legged, arcs of electricity flickering faintly across his skin. After 15 minutes, he had absorbed 15 cores and finally advanced to level 2. Moreover, thunder body tempering had made his outer skin incredibly tough. First-grade zombies could no longer bite through it, and his physical condition had greatly improved. 8-pack abs emerged. The dual-axe warrior was about to make his debut. He also comprehended a second skill, Thunderburst. He could now discharge lightning from the pores of his hands and sustain control over it to form a sphere of devastating power. Fang Ping absorbed 12 cores and also reached level 2, gaining the skill Earth Spike. The Raven absorbed 14 cores and advanced to level 2, its spiritual level elevated even further. It comprehended the skill Mental Slow, which was highly effective against awakened ones. Having all advanced to level 2, they now required more first-grade cores for further upgrades. Zhang Hao needed 150, Fang Ping 120, and the Raven 140. Even with an ample supply of first-grade cores, it would take over 10 days to level up again. Second-grade cores could speed up the process, but this was only the second day of the apocalypse. Even if zombies evolved quickly, second-grade ones were so rare, they were practically negligible. No point counting on them. Fang Ping also realized this problem. Boss, what do we do now? Keep killing zombies. We definitely need to keep killing zombies. We can't just wait for them to evolve to level 2, that would be too slow. But while we hunt, we also need to keep an eye out for promising awakened ones and scavenge as many supplies as possible. Zhang Hao's eyes glimmered as he spoke slowly. We can't recruit too few. Let's first establish a team of 5 or 6 awakened ones. Then we can go for something big. Fang Ping asked humbly, and how do we attract awakened ones? In the early stages, we can lure them with small incentives, some supplies or crystal cores. Gradually build bonds among the team members. We also need to secretly assess their character. If anyone is too saintly, well, weed them out or kill them. Most importantly, loyalty. Anyone disloyal is out no matter how talented. Zhang Hao's plan wasn't that simple. In his past life, the top awakened ones, as long as there was no enmity, could be recruited early. But the apocalypse had already erupted and he didn't know their early locations. He could only hope to run into them by chance. Actually, there were a few he didn't know about. Zhang Hao suddenly thought of a recruit target, and it was nearby. He led Fang Ping and the Raven down to the first floor. Just as they were about to exit through the back door of the supermarket, a violent knocking came from outside. Outside, a woman was screaming hysterically for help. "Boss Zhang, save me. There are a bunch of zombies chasing. I'm gonna die." Boss Zhang. The way she addressed him suggested she was a familiar face who had shopped at his supermarket before. Yet hearing her cries for help, Zhang Hao remained unmoved, instead turning to his companion. "Xiao Fang, what do you think?" Fang Ping felt a pang of sympathy and cautiously suggested, "Why don't we ask how many zombies are behind her? Has she been bitten? If there's no issue, maybe we could lend a hand. What if she's a talented awakener? It'd be perfect timing to recruit her. Of course he'll follow your lead, boss. If you say save her, we save her." Zhang Hao glanced at the Raven perched on his shoulder. "What about you?" The Raven replied curtly, "Don't bother. Women are trouble." Zhang Hao had no intention of saving her either. But he decided to use this as a lesson for Fang Ping today. Thus, as the boss, he agreed. Fang Ping called out through the door, "Miss, how many zombies are behind you? Have you been bitten?" "No bites, just 2 zombies. They're coming. Please open the door, I beg you." The girl shrieked, her voice laced with desperate pleas. Fang Ping opened the door, and the girl scrambled in panic-stricken. The 2 level 1 zombies were nearly upon them. Fang Ping used his riot shield to knock them back, then swiftly dispatched them with 2 clean strikes. The back door clicked shut. The girl was a mess of tears, clearly terrified. "Miss, don't worry. You're safe now," Fang Ping comforted her. Thank you. Thank you, and Boss Zhang. If it weren't for you, I would have died." Zhou Ryu, now somewhat composed, expressed her gratitude to them. Fang Ping wasn't naive enough to trust her outright. He carefully inspected her body and found no bite marks, finally breathing a sigh of relief. Though he wasn't afraid of freshly infected level 1 zombies, Zhou Ryu was someone he had begged the boss to save. Any trouble would surely anger Zhang Hao. But fortunately, the girl seemed to be an ordinary person. Zhang Hao said coldly, "Don't thank me. It's none of my doing." "He'll ask you, where did you come from? Tell me the details of your escape." "I came from the Jinhua residential complex behind the supermarket. I live alone and usually order takeout, so I had no food at home. I held out for a night, but I was starving and had to flee." Zhou Ryu said weakly, "Luckily, I live on the first floor and my building is close to the gate, so my escape route wasn't too long." "You escaped through the main gate. Which one?" Zhang Hao pressed. "The south gate." "Oh, are you an awakener?" "What's an awakener? I don't understand." "Never mind, just asking. Don't overthink it." Zhou Ryu pleaded pitifully. "Can you give me some food? Boss Zhang, I'm really starving. He'll repay you someday, I promise." "How will you repay me?" "With your body." Zhang Hao's expression turned mocking. Zhou Ryu was both embarrassed and angry, but she held back. "Sorry, I'm not that kind of person. My family is wealthy. I can give you a lot of money, all right." "Money? Do you think it's still useful, eh?" "Why wouldn't it be? Social order will eventually be restored. Maybe this is just a zombie crisis in Linhai City. It can't be that bad." Zhou Ryu, thinking of her predicament, knew her words were futile. She resigned herself to pleading, "Boss Zhang, please give me something to eat. I know you're a good person. I'm begging you." "I'm not a good person. I won't give you food for free. You have to prove your worth. Either go out, kill a zombie, and bring back its head, or go hungry. The choice is yours." Zhang Hao couldn't care less about her hunger. He had plenty of supplies, but he needed to conserve them. Any random survivor could come begging, expecting handouts without paying a price. How absurd was that? "I can't. I'm just a weak woman." Zhou Ryu was on the verge of tears. Her pitiful expression made it seem as if she had suffered some great indignity. Fang Ping hadn't planned to help either. But the woman came over, tears streaming, pressing close to him. She brushed her slender fair arm against Fang Ping, making him blush and flustered. After much coaxing, he reluctantly gave her a cup of instant noodles. Zhang Hao's tone was harsh and unyielding. "Your screams just now attracted some zombies. Once they disperse, you'll leave this place. And remember, keep quiet." "Then how am I supposed to survive alone?" "That's your problem." Zhou Ryu bit her lip, looking forlorn. "Can I stay? I can cook for you, do laundry. I'm not afraid of hard work." Zhang Hao asked again, "Are you an awakener?" "I don't understand what you mean." "Forget it." Zhang Hao shook his head and fell silent. Fang Ping felt a twinge of sympathy, but he still chose to obey his boss. The boss must have his reasons. Zhou Ryu slowly finished her noodles and stood up. The growling outside had faded, indicating the gathered zombies had dispersed. Yet she showed no sign of leaving. "What? Do I need to escort you out?" Zhang Hao's patience was wearing thin. He ordered Fang Ping to get rid of the woman. Fang Ping reluctantly complied, opening the back door and pushing the frail woman out. But Zhou Ryu clung tightly to the doorframe, refusing to budge. She even pressed her ample chest against him, making Fang Ping blush and step back. At the same time, the woman began shouting loudly, "Help! Harassment! You're asking for death." Before she could finish, Zhang Hao's expression turned icy cold in an instant. His hand shot toward her head, but to his utter surprise, Zhou Ryu unfazed raised her hand, and a half-inch bone spur sprouted from her fingertip. The bone spur gleamed with a fierce cold light as it plunged toward his heart with astonishing speed. "You are the one who dies, Zhang. This supermarket is mine." A vicious grin spread across Zhou Ryu's face, certain of her victory. Yet the seemingly lethal bone spur failed to even pierce his skin, stopped dead in its tracks. Zhou Ryu was stunned. How was this possible? Zhang Hao's defense was impervious to level 1 zombies, and a level 1 awakener couldn't breach it either. Killing her didn't even require the Raven's mental slow. In her moment of shock, Zhang Hao's hand clamped onto her head. His fingers tightened with brutal force, cracking her skull. With a loud bang, Zhou Ryu's head exploded, blood and brain splattering across the bewildered Fang Ping's face. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. From the attack to her death, it took less than 32 seconds. Snapping back to reality, Fang Ping lowered his head in shame. "I'm sorry, boss. I was wrong." Zhang Hao fixed his gaze on him, his voice laced with stern reproach. "Xiao Fang, admitting fault isn't enough. Do you know where you went wrong?" Fang Ping's compassion was understandable given the apocalypse had just begun. But he remained obedient and loyal. As the protagonist's trusted ally, one lesson was enough to change him. Fang Ping stammered, You don't even know where you went wrong. You're still dazed until now. Do you think she attacked because I refused to take her in? You're wrong. From the very beginning, her target was us. To be more precise, it was this supermarket. No one is unaware of how crucial supplies are in the apocalypse, and it's inevitable that too many awakened will come looking for trouble. This woman is bold, but that's all she is going for her. Aside from her noted considerable talent and abilities, she's utterly useless. She claimed she escaped from the south gate of Jinhua compound, but she had no idea that gate has never been opened. She said she didn't encounter many zombies on the road, but the stench of the undead on her was far too strong for an ordinary person. I asked her twice if she was an awakened, and she denied it twice. She also knows that an awakened appearing uninvited on someone else's turf will inevitably raise suspicion, so she would rather die than admit it. But what she didn't realize was that her utter lack of surprise when you effortlessly killed those 2 zombies completely gave her away. Shouldn't an ordinary person be shocked by such a sight? She wasn't. This woman, surnamed Zhou, didn't speak a single truthful word from start to finish. She even used her body to try and earn your favor. And you, faced with such a malicious schemer, actually gave her instant noodles to eat. Zhang Hao berated him mercilessly. You even thoughtfully added a sausage for her. Fang Ping, are you truly that foolish, or are you just blinded by lust? Even a crow knows that women are trouble. Yet you don't. If you're so fond of women, then go find them. I don't need you here. I'm sorry, boss. I was wrong. I realize my mistake now. I won't dare to do it again. Fang Ping said, full of self-reproach. Zhang Hao ignored him. To be honest, although this woman was full of holes, an ordinary awakened might have actually fallen, because a beautiful woman inherently evokes a psychological desire to protect her. Lust can cloud one's reason, making it easy to overlook her clumsy lies. Fang Ping, young and inexperienced with women, acting on impulse was normal. Not every survivor can immediately shed the pre-apocalyptic idea of protecting the weak. In the apocalypse, there is no difference between men and women. Everyone struggles to survive. What right does being female give you to demand help from others? Is helping you an obligation? And if not, do you resent, even retaliate? Let alone a woman with ill intentions. Killing her is perfectly justified. In the apocalypse, one must be selfish even if it means forcing oneself to be. Otherwise, you're away. Fang Ping's actions earlier were somewhat merciful, but more than that, his rising lust had clouded his basic judgment. Still, he could be corrected. Zhang Hao said coldly, this is the only time. Don't let it happen again. Thank you, boss. Fang Ping breathed a sigh of relief and began to reflect on himself. His boss had been incredibly kind to him. He must never make such a mistake again. In the days that followed, they cleared the zombies from 3 old apartment buildings, harvesting 407 first-level crystal cores in 3 days. During this time, Fang Ping also changed. When encountering women with malicious intent, he would strike without hesitation, splitting their skulls. Any troublemakers trying to take advantage of the chaos were also eliminated. Comrade Xiao Fang had reformed, transforming back into a fearless youth. Boss Zhang was very pleased. At noon, by the second-floor window of the supermarket, Zhang Hao raised his binoculars, continuously scanning the area below. The streets were teeming with zombies. Although there were only 70 or 80 right in front of the supermarket, it was impossible to go out and fight them at this stage, as the noise would easily attract a massive horde. While first-level zombies couldn't break his defense, Zhang Hao also had his limits. If he were cornered by hundreds or thousands of zombies, he might not even have a chance to escape, unless he built a team first and dared to try. This was rather awkward. He had originally wanted to make a big move, but he couldn't even gather the people. Just as Zhang Hao was about to eat, a young boy appeared on the distant street. Through the binoculars, the boy carefully moved along the wall. When he encountered more than a dozen zombies blocking his path, he would throw a pebble to lure them away. If there were only a few, he would use agile maneuvers to evade their line of sight. But the most astonishing part was, he crouched behind a piece of sheet metal with a zombie right in front of it. The zombie showed no reaction at all, letting him slip away while black drool dripped from its mouth. What the hell? What's going on? Zhang Hao's eyes widened in shock. Even if first-level zombies lacked a keen sense of smell, that didn't mean they couldn't detect someone standing right in front of them. The sheet metal blocking its vision might explain why it didn't see him, but did its sense of smell just take a break? Or is the kid a relative of yours? Zhang Hao watched as the boy skillfully navigated from the adjacent street, circled around to the street where the supermarket was located, then turned right into an alley and disappeared. Damn, that's just ridiculous. Zhang Hao felt that this boy must be Lady Luck's own son. Just as he was about to say something, Fong Ping rushed upstairs. Boss, there's a boy at the back door knocking. He says he wants to see you. Huh. He came to us. Zhang Hao was a bit surprised, but remained cautious. He went downstairs with Fong Ping, opened the door, and sure enough, it was the lucky boy with the agile moves. The boy looked about 15, with curly black hair. There was some fatigue on his face, but his expression seemed to hold joy and anticipation. As soon as he entered, he got straight to the point. Boss, can I join you? This caught them off guard. Although Fong Ping inwardly disapproved of this little brat, he didn't say. Everything depended on the boss' decision. Zhang Hao asked, what's your name? Are you an awakened? My name is Hu Xiaonan. Yes, I'm an awakened. What type is your ability? Natural, elemental, or psychic? None of those. I can't really say which category my ability falls into, but I know my basic skill is danger precognition. Zhang Hao became interested. Oh, in what form? I can predict danger through divination. By channeling my ability, I can make specific objects display the level of danger through colors. For example, is it safe for me to stay in this supermarket today? Hu Xiaonan took a Favigio coin from his pocket. He muttered something under his breath, then tossed the coin into the air. The coin spun a few times before landing steadily in his palm, emitting a faint green glow. Green light means safe, yellow means very low danger, orange means somewhat dangerous, red means extremely dangerous, and purple means a slim chance of survival. Hu Xiaonan revealed a confident smile. With me joining, everyone will navigate the apocalypse without obstacles. An ability like this should be enough to tempt you, boss, right? Zhang Hao fell into silence. He did not respond immediately. Was Hu Xiaonan's ability formidable? Undoubtedly. What could be more formidable than recognizing danger? In this apocalypse, it was practically a cheat-like power. No wonder he could navigate through zombies with such uncanny agility, evading their detection. In fact, in his past life, he had heard of Hu Xiaonan's moniker, the Prophet. The ability he awakened did not belong to any common system, nor was it particularly suited for combat. It was a unique system unto itself. Even in the entire Linhai city, he seemed to be the only one. Back then, after joining the awakened squad, his powers catapulted him to fame, and he eventually became the second-in-command of a top-tier faction. In his past life, Hu Xiaonan's refusal to join was clearly due to his ability to foresee that it was unsafe by his side. In this life, he planned to form an awakened team, which prompted Hu Xiaonan to approach him voluntarily. It went without saying that he couldn't let this opportunity slip. This kid prioritized his own safety. As long as he protected him well, there would be no chance of betrayal, and he could gradually cultivate their relationship. Without much hesitation, Zhang Hao nodded. Welcome aboard. Thanks, boss, Hu Xiaonan chuckled. Zhang Hao inquired, is it because of danger precognition that you managed to evade so many zombies? Hu Xiaonan explained patiently. The reason I could avoid the zombie horde is because I have a second skill, Zero Presence. This skill allows me to minimize my aura to the maximum so zombies can't smell me. Hu Xiaonan explained patiently. The reason I could avoid the zombie horde is because I have a second skill, Zero Presence. This skill allows me to minimize my aura to the maximum so zombies can't smell me. Combined with danger precognition, I can evade them to the greatest extent. Zhang Hao felt a twinge of envy. He had a second skill, 2 skills at level 1. Wasn't this practically cheating? If it weren't for his lack of combat prowess, he would be the spitting image of a protagonist. Zhang Hao pressed on, what do you mean by divination phrasing? It refers to the verbal description of the divination event. It must include the 4 basic elements: time, place, person, and event. Otherwise, the divination results will deviate to varying degrees. Hu Xiaonan replied, so you can divine for others too? Yes, I can. Oh, Zhang Hao's eyes, he could divine for others too. That opened up a world of possibilities. For instance, assessing the danger level of the team, hunting zombies on the streets, or screening new members for the group. Of course, He had something important in mind. Can you divine something for me? Sure. Divine for me the danger level of heading to the largest supplier's headquarters in Donglin City tonight to loot their warehouse supplies. Zhang Hao's expression was solemn, tinged with excitement. He had never forgotten the importance of supplies. Though the space ring currently held a decent amount, it would be far from sufficient once the team expanded. The early days of the apocalypse were the best time to scavenge supplies. The company Lu Yun had worked for was the city's largest fresh produce supplier. Delivering 50 million worth of goods back then was a breeze. If not for the need to supply thousands of supermarkets across the city every few days, those 50 million in supplies could have been handled in a single day. The warehouse of such a supplier must hold a colossal amount of supplies. It was no wonder Lu Yun had risen so quickly back then. Zhang Hao had never forgotten this, but the supplier's headquarters employed tens of thousands. By now more than half of humanity had turned into zombies. Even though 5 days had passed, and the zombies might wander in search of prey, a significant number would still linger. Coupled with the lack of manpower, Zhang Hao had never brought it up. Now with Hu Xiaonan, the future super prophet, he could assess the feasibility of this operation in advance. Hu Xiaonan asked, "Is it the supplier called Hailing?" "Yes," Zhang Hao nodded. "Wait, let me think about the div. Something like this should work tonight. If I, Zhang Hao, and Fang Ping go to the Hailing supplier headquarters to loot the warehouse supplies, will there be danger?" After a brief pondering, Hu Xiaonan murmured softly. Then with a flick of his index finger, he tossed a coin into the air. It spun and landed in his palm, glowing with an orange light. Orange light. Moderately dangerous. Boss, maybe we should skip it. Hu Xiaonan grew fearful. He had no combat ability at all. What if he was the only one to get hurt? Zhang Hao pointed at the raven perched on his shoulder. "You didn't include all the elements." "What about it?" Hu Xiaonan was taken aback. "We're bringing this black chicken too." Before Zhang Hao could respond, the raven burst out. "You're the chicken. Your whole family are chickens. My God, this chicken can talk. Ignorant moron. You're the moron. If you weren't a moron, why can't you tell a chicken from a crow? Oh my, are your eyes 2 peas? I suggest you gouge them out and feed them to the dogs. It'll wring your neck. A chicken with such a foul mouth." Hu Xiaonan was fuming, but the raven cackled. "I just heard the funniest joke. Try wringing my neck. I can blast your head off with one glance." Zhang Hao intervened, putting an end to their bickering. "All right, enough. Caw is a significant asset. Add him in and divine again." "Okay, boss." Hu Xiaonan included the raven. The divination result was a yellow light. Not too dangerous. Though not green, it was sufficient. After all, in the apocalypse, the word safety itself was a luxury. No place could be truly safe, though only what one built with their own hands could be considered secure. Zhang Hao wanted to divine other matters, but Hu Xiaonan was already drained. Divination consumed his ability. At just level 1, he could only divine 5 times a day at most. He had used 2 before coming to the supermarket, leaving him depleted. Still, there was no denying how useful this skill was. Zhang Hao turned to Fang Ping, showing concern. "Getting so weak at such a young age won't do. Xiao Fang, go make some hearty dishes. Stew some ribs to nourish our new friend." Fang Ping scratched his head awkwardly. "Boss, I don't know how to cook." "Then learn. I have cooking videos on my phone. Figure it out yourself. I'm sick of instant noodles every day." "I'll get to it, boss." Unable to refuse, Fang Ping reluctantly went to cook. Using a small electric pot, he spent 3 hours preparing 5 dishes: scrambled eggs with tomatoes, spicy chicken wings, Sichuan boiled fish, in chili sauce, cold sliced pork head, and stewed ribs. The dishes looked passable in color, but the smell was oddly off. Fang Ping sat down feeling a bit nervous. Zhang Hao ladled a bowl of rib soup and took a big gulp. His face immediately turned pale, then dark, and he spat out the soup, erupting in fury. "What the hell is this? Xiao Fang, did you put shit in it?" "Good heavens." Zhang Hao nearly shot into the sky. It wasn't an exaggeration, it was truly nauseating. This concoction couldn't even be called rib soup, it was more like sewage. The taste was indeed too reminiscent of excrement. Hu Xiaonan refused to believe it. Could anything really be worse than feces? He chuckled. Having been a foodie for years, he would know at once whether this dish was made from the real thing. Then he vomited all over the floor. Hu Xiaonan gave his supreme verdict. "This dish is not excrement, but surpasses it, exceeding it in every way." Fang Ping felt a pang of sadness, but after tasting it, he nearly foamed at the mouth. In the end, the 3 of them settled for instant noodles. To mend their wounded spirits, Zhang Hao added 3 sausages and 2 braised eggs. Yet the cooking dilemma still needed resolution. None of the trio possessed even a shred of culinary talent. Could they perhaps teach the raven to cook? But wouldn't that be a bit too inhumane? Zhang Hao glanced at the raven. "Caw, how about watching a cooking video?" The raven screeched, "Dad, have a heart. I admit I'm not human, but you're truly a dog. Am a crow. Why must I cook?" Zhang Hao had to abandon the idea. The raven was only 5 days old, but did seem somewhat cruel. He decided to wait until it grew up. If it could chatter fluently, at 5 days, learning to cook in a month would be a breeze. At 1:30 in the morning, The trio and the Raven, fully equipped, prepared to head for the hailing supplier building. It was located about 20 kilometers north of East Street, near the North 5th Ring Road, which was relatively close to the city center, but still not the core urban area. Why launch the operation at night? Because the vision of first-level zombies was abysmal. As long as they avoided being detected by scent, the zombies were nearly blind, making it far safer. To prevent the supermarket from being raided, Zhang Hao stashed all the supplies into his spatial ring before departing through the back door. Fang Ping raised his hand and asked, "So how do we get there?" "Walk." The Raven cawed. "Fly, of course." Hu Xiaonan rolled his eyes. "You can fly? But can we, eh?" "Can't fly, and you're still proud of that. You sly dog. Careful, or he'll eat your chicken wings." "Idiot, these are crow wings." Ignoring the two clowns, Fang Ping asked cautiously, "Boss, with your meticulous mind, you must have stockpiled some transportation in advance, right?" Awkward silence. Zhang Hao had indeed prepared nothing. It wasn't that he forgot. He simply hadn't thought of it. The apocalypse had erupted, and the city streets were clogged with immovable cars. Ordinary cars and trucks were too cumbersome. Only two-wheeled vehicles could weave through the streets unimpeded. Options included motorcycles, electric scooters, or bicycles, though the latter was too slow and exhausting. Motorcycles were fast enough to reach the destination in 20 minutes, or even 10 if one didn't mind risking life and limb. Electric scooters were slightly slower, but still manageable within half an hour. Yet he had nothing prepared. What now? Walking was out of the question. Even if they were second-level awakened beings, covering 20 kilometers at full speed without rest would take 4 to 5 hours. That was an ideal scenario. Hu Xiaonan was only a first-level awakened and frail to boot. With such a dead weight, it might take 6 or 7 hours just to reach the destination. By then, dawn would have broken, turning their nocturnal raid into a farce. Fang Ping, seeing his boss silence, understood immediately. The trio and the Raven fell into an awe. After a moment of thought, Zhang Hao said, "Transport isn't hard to come by. 500 meters to the left of the supermarket, there's a father-son bike shop that mainly sells electric scooters. Let's scavenge there and stock up while we're at it." "Smart move, boss. Let's hurry." Fang Ping flattered him, and they all set off for the bike shop. They reached the destination in a few minutes, entering through the back alley. Such shops usually had a rear entrance. As per routine, they knocked first. A few thuds, but no response. Instead, they attracted 3 or 5 zombies. Fang Ping dispatched them with ease and turned to Zhang Hao. "Boss, no answer. Either no one's here or they've turned. Shall we break in?" "Break it." With the boss' consent, they prepared to force the door. But just then the door creaked open, revealing a young man with bleached hair and dark circles under his eyes as black as a panda's, looking even more drained than Hu Xiaonan. "A youth should learn moderation." The young man suppressed his impatience and asked, "Who are you looking for?" Unfortunately, the shop wasn't abandoned. Truth be told, Zhang Hao and Fang Ping felt a twinge of disappointment. "I'm looking for Old Sun, the owner. I run the fresh supermarket next door. We've dealt before." Zhang Hao's reply made the young man scrutinize him. "My dad's mentioned you." "Boss Zhang, right? Come inside. It's not safe out there." The three entered. The shop was single-story with a small rest area in the corner. The rest of the space was filled with electric scooters, at least 100 of them. There were all kinds: foldable ones, electric motorcycles, electric skateboards, and even 3-wheeled senior scooters. "You want some wheels?" The young man cut to the chase. "Yes, 3 for commuting. These twowheelers are perfect. Let me break it down. The foldable ones are portable, but slow with poor battery life, and they're single rider only." The young man patiently explained, "Electric motorcycles are fast, up to 50 kilometers per hour, with great range and suspension. No real drawbacks. I doubt you'll consider the skateboards. They're compact and portable, but the suspension is terrible. Rough roads will torture you. Which do you prefer?" "Electric motorcycles." The choice was obvious. They were superior. The others might be useful occasionally, but their value was too low. Unless they could be had for free, then he'd stockpile them. "All right, what are you paying with?" "Money's worthless now, since you're a supermarket owner." "How about supplies?" "We'll negotiate a price you find fair." The young man was blunt. "Deal." Zhang Hao nodded. 3 electric bikes originally cost 6,500. "I won't gouge you. Just give me 300 jin of pork, 100 jin of rice, 40 bottles of nongfu, 3 punches, and throw in 50 boxes of jispin as a bonus." That's what the price would by pre-apocalypse, so don't think him asking too much. "Too much? Then he'll cut the pork by 100 jin, okay?" Zhang Hao turned and walked away without another word. Did he take him for a fool? Before the apocalypse, 6,000 yuan could indeed buy that much. But this was the post-apocalyptic world. Even if only 5 days had passed, 3 electric scooters weren't worth that. When supplies ran scarce, the city would no longer be a human haven, and in the suburbs these vehicles would be useless. Forget 300 jin of pork. 3 scooters might barely fetch a pack of instant noodles and a sausage, and even that would be a handout. Moreover, buying was merely for convenience. If one truly needed an electric scooter, a little time spent on the streets would suffice to find a means of transport. Besides, isn't yours the only shop nearby? Why must we haggle with you? Isn't that utterly senseless? To be honest, he's still somewhat civilized. If it were any other unreasonable awakened, they'd kill you all and loot everything without paying a single cent. Seeing Zhang Hao and his group about to leave, the yellow-haired man grew anxious and coaxed with a smile. Don't go, let's negotiate further. Since when is a deal struck on the first try? Why don't you name a price? Zhang Hao said, 10 packs of instant noodles. And then, oi, that's it. Do you take me for a beggar? Not selling. Not selling. The yellow-haired man was somewhat exasperated. Though the father and son lacked food, 10 packs of noodles for 3 scooters. Even if he agreed, his father would break his legs. Even if the streets were dangerous, taking some risks could still yield some food. If worse came to worse, they could raid Zhang's supermarket for supplies and kill them all. After all, killing in the apocalypse was nothing. The yellow-haired man harbored malicious thoughts. Watching them head for the back door, his eyes suddenly flickered. Hey, don't use the back door. Go through the front. Why should we? Because this shop is my dad's. Either you leave through the front, or you don't leave at all. Through the front. This guy was trying to set them up with zombies. Zhang Hao narrowed his eyes, a dangerous glint flashing within. Just as he was about to act, a strange sound came from the corner rest area, a messy, heavy panting. Both male and female voices were audible, but the woman's voice sounded odd, as if muffled by something unknown, indistinct. Moi. Zhang Hao's expression shifted slightly as a suspicion formed. But he couldn't be bothered to intervene. Such things were all too common in the apocalypse. When humanity was truly desperate, many women willingly submitted. Sometimes half a pack of biscuits or a bucket of water could buy a night. If you could guarantee meals for several days, they would be entirely at your mercy. There was no position they wouldn't assume, only ones you couldn't imagine. Of course, only if they were attractive. No one would bother with the ugly ones, even if they offered. The panting ceased, and the restroom door opened. Sun Kai, the shop owner, emerged, pulling up his pants, a cigarette dangling from his lips, as he muttered disdainfully, "Unbelievable, not even smooth enough. I need to find a woman soon." "They'll go tomorrow," the yellow-haired man promised. "Son, you handle it." "Got it." The yellow-haired man licked his lips and headed into the rest area. Hearing the father-son exchange, Zhang Hao and his group sensed something off. They shifted their gaze and witnessed a nauseating scene. The duo was indeed engaging in the act. But the object was a female zombie. Good heavens. What kind of brainless behavior was this? The zombie was completely naked, limbs tied to a chair, mouth sealed with tape. The vile black fluids couldn't escape, so it was relatively clean, and its face was at the level of a class beauty. But that didn't justify such heinous acts. Fong Ping immediately reacted, covering Hu Xiaonan's eyes. "Don't look, this is not for kids." The next scene, Hu Xiaonan was curious. He did want to see, for he had never witnessed such a thing. Not just him. Fong Ping hadn't either, though Zhang Hao had seen it a few times in his past life. There were even group activities with zombies, scenes so grotesque, they left deep psychological scars. Sun Kai, seeing the people before him, said flippantly, "Oh, isn't this Boss Zhang? Here to buy an electric scooter. My son was just joking with you if the price was indeed a bit. How about this? For 3 scooters, give us 5 bags of rice and flour and 10 boxes of condoms. That's a fair deal, don't you think?" "Not really," Zhang Hao shook his head. "Come on. Can't spare 5 bags. How can we do business in the future? Don't be so heartless. There won't be any future business between us." "What do you mean?" Sun Kai didn't understand. Zhang Hao glanced at the wide-open restroom door, watching the yellow-haired man toiling away with a pale face, a trace of sympathy flickering in his eyes. "Do you know that anyone bitten or scratched by a zombie will turn into one with absolute certainty?" "We know, but what you don't know is there's another infection route, mating with a zombie. Anyone who has relations with a zombie will also be infected by the virus." Sun Kai panicked. "Even with protection, it's useless." "Useless? Your fate is sealed. It's all over now." Sun Kai stumbled back a few steps, and the yellow-haired man heard it too. He collapsed, both father and son frozen in terror, their minds blank. They never imagined that merely seeking deep interaction with a female zombie would lead to such a dire end. The apocalypse magnifies humanity's evil, infinitely driving people to commit all sorts of atrocities. Though the father and son's evil had also grown, they were corrupt, yet not entirely depraved. Fearing punishment if social order was restored, they settled for capturing a female zombie, only to end up becoming zombies themselves. Why? Why did you tell me only now? Zhang Hao, you must have done this to harm me. Die. In his despair, Sun Kai lunged at Zhang Hao with a roar, black fluid seeping from his mouth, a sign he was already transforming into a zombie. How could the loyal Fong Ping stand idle? He stepped forward and cleaved off Sun Kai's head with an axe. The yellow-haired young man had fully turned into a zombie, but was also swiftly dealt with by Fong Ping. These people were utterly ignorant. The two were clearly awakened, otherwise they couldn't have captured a zombie alive. Why do this of all things? Why indulge in such acts? Sigh, if you don't seek death, you won't die. Next life, use your brain. The female zombie, having gone days without feeding, could only manage feeble whimpers, a disgrace to her kind. Fang Ping drew a dagger and stabbed its head, then covered it with a piece of clothing. It wasn't out of kindness, but because there was a child present. Scenes unsuitable for minors must be strictly forbidden, only adults may critique them righteously. They collected the crystal cores and naturally took all the electric scooters, totaling around 145. Checking the time, it was already 2 in the morning. Time to move. Helmets on, ready to go. 3 electric scooter warriors set out. The raven on his shoulder chirped a melodious tune, while behind the scooters trailed zombies drooling black saliva, a bizarre sight. Riding our beloved little scooters, hoping there's no traffic jam ahead. The zombies behind don't scare us. They have 2 legs, our scooters have 2 wheels. Last night, the raven had already scouted the road conditions ahead of time. Zhang Hao mapped out a route that was relatively safe without being a detour where the number of zombies was comparatively sparse. Even if they acted a bit conspicuously along the way with crows singing to lure a horde of zombies trailing behind them, it posed virtually no real threat. Although the first-tier zombies were slightly stronger than ordinary humans, catching up to an electric scooter's speed was utterly impossible. Once the zombies evolved further, they could afford to be this reckless, because zombies not only grew physically stronger, but could also evolve into ability-wielding zombies. Even if they couldn't catch you at first, they could still blow up your electric scooter from a distance. It was still quite dangerous. Half an hour later, they arrived at their destination. To be safe, Zhang Hao still sent the raven to gather intelligence, including the number of zombies and the warehouse's location. Before long, the raven returned with information. There are quite a few zombies, estimated in the thousands, but they're scattered. The warehouse is about 400 meters from the nearest west gate, though a good number of zombies are lurking near it, roughly 200 to 300. Walking there would be no small risk. What about the road conditions? Zhang Hao asked. It's tricky. 7 or 8 small cars are blocking the way. An electric scooter could barely get through, but it'd be slow and you'd likely get surrounded by zombies. Is the west gate open? It's locked. Did you go inside the warehouse? Any survivors? Yes, there are survivors. 23 in total, led by 3 people, probably awakened ones. Zhang Hao fell into deep thought. The intelligence the raven brought back was crucial, whether it was about the zombies, the warehouse location, or the survivors. All of this would affect the next plan. The warehouse was closed, but there were too many zombies. Riding the electric scooter was out of the question. Charging indirectly wouldn't work either. They'd likely be blocked by zombies before even reaching the warehouse. Zhang Hao suddenly had an idea. Are there any large vehicles nearby, like big trucks or heavy-duty lorries? The raven thought for a moment and said, yes, there are. Several heavy trucks parked on the street outside the that settles it. We'll ram through with a heavy truck. The west gate, and the zombies won't stop us. Xiaonan, do a divination on the danger level of this operation with the time factor set to 5 minutes from now. Got it, boss. Hearing Zhang Hao's command, Hu Xiaonan turned serious. She raised her hand and tossed a pentagonal coin, murmuring under her breath, in 5 minutes when I, Zhang Hao, Fang Ping, and the raven drive a heavy truck to the warehouse at hailing supplier headquarters, will it be very dangerous? The coin fell glowing yellow. The danger wasn't great, meaning it was doable. The trio and the raven immediately set off, riding their electric scooters to the west gate. They drove the heavy truck straight toward the warehouse. Zombies rushed forward one after another, only to be sent flying, their intestines and organs scattering all over the ground. Haha, this feels amazing. So awesome. These zombies are so weak. Fang Ping was thrilled. This kind of reckless charge was a first. Hundreds of zombies were like paper smashed to pieces in a spectacular scene. As they neared the warehouse, Zhang Hao's expression turned serious. Raven, go inside and open the door for us. If anyone tries to stop you, kill them. Understood. The raven flapped its wings and took off, then slipped into a ventilation duct and vanished. The people inside the warehouse were mostly from the supplier's logistics department. Some were cleaners, others were statisticians in charge of new inventory, and a few were security guards. When the apocalypse broke out, over 7,000 of the company's 10,000 employees had turned into zombies. The remaining 3,000 were devoured in the blink of an eye, leaving only a little over 100 survivors. Some managed to escape, while others hid in other company buildings. The warehouse crew, however, was luckier. There were few of them to begin with, and only 1 or 2 zombies. After being beaten to death by 3 awakened ones, those 3 naturally became the group's leaders. The warehouse was enormous, divided into smaller storage units with ample supplies. Similar items were kept in the same unit, and professional cooling facilities prevented spoilage. On the 3rd day, without power after the apocalypse, they were fortunate enough to find the warehouse's backup generator to keep the goods from going bad. The power could run for a while longer, and most supplies remained unspoiled. These people had plenty to eat and drink for 5 days, until some began voicing differing opinions. We can't stay here forever. We'll have to leave sooner or later. Exactly, don't you want to get out? My wife is waiting for me at home. There's so much stuff here. We can't take it all, but isn't it enough to last until the national rescue arrives? Why did the apocalypse suddenly happen? I don't want to die. Some couldn't take it anymore and burst into tears. Li Tian, one of the awakened ones, barked impatiently. Shut the hell up. Do you think we don't want to leave this damn place? There are hundreds of zombies outside. Going out would be suicide. Wang Sanshun had also lost his patience and snarled. If any of you want to leave, we won't stop you. But don't make a sound, or pull any tricks, or we'll kill you. A pretty woman stepped forward and asked softly, can I take a little food with me? No, you can't. Because we 3 killed the zombies. Otherwise, you'd all be dead. The supplies here belong to the collective. You can leave, but you can't take anything. At that, everyone fell silent. They all knew that going out without supplies meant certain death. They were all ordinary people, none confident they could find food in the apocalypse, especially with so many zombies outside. Better to forget it. Besides, the 3 awakened ones were no pushovers. Anyone who opposed them before had been killed. Even if they wanted to resist, they were powerless. Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. Brother Wang, brotherly, there's noise outside. It sounds like a vehicle. Zhao Hu, who was guarding the door, heard the sound and hurriedly reported to the 2. Wang Sanshun and Li Tian exchanged a glance and rushed toward the entrance, only to see a crow suddenly squeeze through the ventilation grate on the electric door. The 3 froze for a moment. A crow. Had it taken a wrong turn? But then the raven headed straight for the door opening button, and their expressions shifted dramatically. Holy crap. Holy crap. Is that a zombie crow? Damn it. That crow is going to open the door for the zombies. Zhao Hu, kill it. Wang Sanshun and Li Tian were horrified. Zhao Hu reacted quickly, raising a machete to take it down. He wasn't an ordinary person. He was a first-tier awakened one. Though not as powerful as brother Li Tian, he was on par with Wang Sanshun. 3 or 5 zombies couldn't harm him. Yet the seemingly fatal strike was easily dodged by the raven. And then with a swift swipe of its sharp claws, Zhao Ha's head exploded before everyone's eyes, stunning them all. Li Tian was in shock, and so was Wang Sanshun. Zhao Ha's death was not unjust. Even though the raven, being a psychic type, wasn't particularly adept at combat, it was still a bona fide second-level mutant creature. A mere first-level awakener with no skills daring to challenge a higher level. That's something only a protagonist could pull off. Not to mention its psychic slow ability, which was more than enough to deal with a second-level awakener, let alone it. Just then the raven cleverly tapped the button on the door with its beak. The electric sliding doors slowly opened, and a heavy truck came barreling and dragging along a few half-dead miserable zombies. Once the truck was fully inside the warehouse, the raven closed the doors again. A few zombies tried to slip in during the commotion, but Fong Ping swiftly decapitated them. Witnessing this, the ordinary people inside all fell silent. If even their own awakener was afraid of these individuals, they as mere commoners wouldn't dare to court death. Zhang Hao scanned the room and looked at Wang Sanshun. Are you their leader? No. Not me, it's him. Wang Sanshun pointed at Li Tian behind him. Li Tian stepped forward, frowning as he demanded, who are you people? Why are you forcefully entering my warehouse? Isn't this a bit too much? My apologies, I just want to borrow some supplies, Zhang Hao said with a smile. Borrow supplies? Li Tian wasn't afraid, but he wasn't a fool either. He could tell these people were formidable, so it would be best to send them off with some supplies. After a moment's deliberation, Li Tian proposed, there are only 3 of you, so they'll give you 15 jin of frozen pork. Eaten sparingly, it should last you 5 or 6 days. Zhang Hao lied blatantly. I have hundreds of people under me. This little bit of meat wouldn't even fill the gaps between our teeth. Add more. Hundreds of people. How did he think he was fooling? Li Tian didn't believe him, but he couldn't refuse entirely. 50 jin of pork plus 20 jin of beef and vegetables. This is the best I can offer. Not enough. Then how much do you want? All the supplies in the warehouse. Are you mocking me? Do you take me for a pushover? Li Tian's face darkened. He gripped his large cleaver tightly, anger kindling in his eyes. Zhang Hao's expression was mocking. Yes, I'm mocking you. Got a problem with that. Damn it. If you want to take a toast, you'll have to drink the penalty. He'll kill you. Li Tian cursed as he charged forward with his cleaver. He wasn't blinded by rage. He knew these people were strong, but wasn't he strong too? The few zombies in the warehouse had been killed by the 3 awakeners at the start, and they had luckily dug out 3 crystals from their brains. Wang Sanshun and Zhao Hu didn't dare to consume them, fearing infection from something that came from a zombie's brain. But Li Tian had read apocalypse novels and believed these crystals were the key to becoming stronger. So he gritted his teeth and swallowed them. As he had expected, his physical abilities greatly improved, inflating his ego to an unbearable degree. If it weren't for the hordes of zombies outside, he would have gone out to collect more crystals long ago. These people, no matter how tough, were just bold. Li Tian wasn't intimidated. Extorting him. These people were dead. But before he could take 2 steps, Zhang Hao suddenly raised his hand and hurled his fire axe. Clang. Li Tian's expression changed drastically as he raised his blade to block. The immense force knocked his cleaver from his hands and broke several of his ribs. He spat out a mouthful of blood and slammed heavily into the wall. It was a pitiful sight. Wang Sanshun had intended to support him, but was so frightened he wet himself. They were all first-level awakeners, so why was he so strong? It didn't make sense. Zhang Hao slowly walked over to the dying Li Tian. Why? No grudges. Why target me? Li Tian was listless, utterly confused. From the moment this man entered the warehouse, he had targeted him. The hostility was palpable. There was some directed at Wang Sanshun too, but not as intense. Why? They didn't even know each other, so why the deadly intent? If I had known you were this strong, I'd have given you the whole warehouse. Zhang Hao asked, what was your relationship with Lu Yun? She was my leader. Then that's right. What? We have a grudge. But it was from a past life. Zhang Hao had recognized Li Tian at first glance. He was also from the logistics department, a subordinate of Lu. In his past life, Li Tian was among the group of awakeners who had besieged him, and he was the first to strike. Back then, Li Tian was incredibly arrogant, believing himself to be an unbeatable physique type, awakener the strongest in all of Linhai City. So he launched a frontal assault. Then he was severely wounded. He couldn't even break Zhang Hao's defense, and was nearly cut in half, but managed to escape. If the Raven hadn't ambushed him, leaving him mentally dazed, Li Tian would have died right then and there. Afterward, Fang Ping sacrificed himself to cover Zhang Hao's escape, but even in death, he found no peace. Li Tian tortured him for 3 days and nights without rest. By the time Zhang Hao returned to Linhai City, he couldn't find a single intact piece of Fang Ping's body. So Zhang Hao annihilated Lu Yun's faction of awakeners. He tortured the living Li Tian for 10 days and nights, and after his death, he ground his corpse into pieces hundreds of times. Finally, he used high-voltage lightning to reduce his very bone fragments to ash. It was a true case of grinding bones to dust and scattering the ashes. Wang Sanshun, though not as despicable, was also among the awakeners who had besieged him. The grudges of that past life Zhang Hao could not forget. Everyone who had targeted him would pay a bloody price. Some might say, oh, it was a past life's grudge. In this life, they haven't wronged you. Why can't you be magnanimous? Wouldn't it be better to recruit them for your own use? Magnanimous. Easy for them to say. If you were subjected to endless pursuit, living in constant fear, and your brother was tortured for 3 days and nights, could you be magnanimous? You should stay far away from people who advise you to be magnanimous without knowing the whole story. Otherwise, when lightning strikes, you might get caught in the blast. If the situation allows, kill such people. If not, they'll become a major nuisance, or at least disgust you to death. So whether it's this life or the past, I Zhang Hao cannot let go of my grudges. Because vengeful is my motto. Seeing the murderous intent in Zhang Hao's eyes intensify, Li Tian was terrified, trembling as he knelt and begged for mercy. Please let me go. I'm a powerful awakener too. I can serve you. Please spare me. You are not. Zhang Hao's axe fell. With a crack, Li Tian was dead. Wang Sanshun did not escape his fate either. The remaining 20 ordinary people trembled in fear, keeping their mouths firmly shut, not daring to voice any objection. Now, it was time for business. The fresh produce warehouse was enormous, covering an area of 12,000 square meters. Based on different temperature requirements, it was divided into 3 main zones: frozen, chilled, and ambient. The frozen zone covered 6,000 square meters, the chilled zone 4,000, and the ambient zone 2,000. The amount of supplies was too vast to count. With such a massive warehouse before him, Zhang Hao's eyes gleamed, and he almost drooled. We've hit the jackpot, a real windfall this time. But there was a problem now. Zhang Hao couldn't possibly loot the supplies in front of these people. If they returned later and found the 10,000th square meter warehouse reduced to an empty shell, they would inevitably make connections, and spreading such news would become no small trouble. What if he simply killed them all? Zhang Hao felt no resistance to this idea in his heart. Eliminating these ordinary people would be a permanent solution, and he wouldn't have to worry about exposing his spatial ring. Fang Ping certainly wouldn't object either. Ever since that lesson he had been taught, the young man's loyalty had reached an extraordinary level. He was willing to handle anything for his boss. Killing a few ordinary people was naturally no issue. However, Hu Xiaonan might find it hard to accept. After all, he was still just a child. If it were any other awakened, Zhang Hao wouldn't bother with such trivial matters, but Hu Xiaonan was the future prophet. Right now, the single skill of danger precognition alone had already given the team wings, yet this was merely one of the basic divination abilities. In the future, he would even comprehend more formidable skills. For instance, dreaming of the future. This skill was not an exaggeration in the slightest. It meant exactly what it sounded like: the ability to see the future in dreams. Although only fragmented images of future events, he had experienced the perils of the apocalypse firsthand, and combining this ability would allow him to prepare in advance. Therefore, he certainly had to consider the child's feelings. Fang Ping noticed Zhang Hao's furrowed brow and seemed to grasp the situation. He tilted his head and whispered for instructions. Should we make a move? Boss, You can send Hu Xiaonan away first. He'll take care of them. Leave this dirty work to me. Even if Hu Xiaonan finds out, it won't have anything to do with you. Zhang Hao felt a stir in his heart, but also found it absurd. The way you say that. Any clear-eyed person would know you're my most loyal employee. And then you say killing these ordinary people has nothing to do with me, the boss. Isn't that just burying your head in the sand? I feel like you're creating something out of nothing, sneaking around imagining things. Just as Zhang Hao was about to say something, a beautiful woman stood up from the crowd. It was the woman who had first demanded to take supplies away. She had a mole on her upper lip, but it did not detract. The woman approached with an exceedingly graceful demeanor, but Fang Ping blocked her path in front of his boss, holding a cleaver like a grim-faced gatekeeper. What? Trying to seduce the boss with your looks? Heh. My boss doesn't fall for that. Zhang Hao was truly speechless. I do fall for it. The kind where he gets something for nothing. This blockhead was hopeless. Could he please just step aside? But in this situation he had to play it cool. Zhang Hao said flatly, state your business. The woman stepped back, flashing what she believed to be the most alluring smile. My name is Bai Jia. I used to be the accountant for this warehouse. I want to make a deal with you. A deal? Let's hear it, Zhang Hao said. You drove a heavy truck in through the west gate, didn't you? From the moment you easily killed Li Tian, I knew you and the man beside you are no ordinary awakened. So I want to ask you and him to escort us out, just out the west gate. That shouldn't be too difficult, should it? Bai Jia said slowly. Oh, what can you offer as payment? The payment is all the supplies in this warehouse. Take as much as you want. Hearing this, Zhang Hao couldn't help but laugh. You say that as if this warehouse belongs to you. I could kill you and still get the supplies. Why go through the extra trouble? Bai Jia said confidently, because you wouldn't dare kill me. Delusional confidence. If I wanted to kill you, no one could stop me, Zhang Hao sneered. Indeed, no one could stop you, but I can take you down with me. As soon as I press this button in my hand, the warehouse alarm will blare across the entire company. Then hundreds, or even thousands of zombies will flood this warehouse, blocking it completely. No matter how powerful you are, you can't kill that many zombies. So do you still dare to kill me? Bai Jia held up the remote control, a slight smirk curling her lips. The mole on her upper lip twitched, exuding an air of smug confidence, as if certain the other party would yield to her. After all, it was only about 400 to 500 meters from here to the west gate. The heavy truck's cargo hold could easily accommodate everyone. It would only take a few minutes' drive. Why not go along with it? But the next second, the smile on her face froze. Because Zhang Hao took a step forward and reached out to his 5 fingers clenched violently, and with a crack her fair neck snapped. The overconfident Bai Jia stared wide-eyed, falling to the ground in death, unable to accept her fate. I hate it when people threaten me. Zhang Hao's expression was grim. At that moment, the alarm blared across the entire company, but he remained unmoved. Before dying, Bai Jia still pressed the button on the remote. This woman had clearly lied. She was actually the 4th awakened among this group. Otherwise, with his speed as a 2nd-level awakened, an ordinary person wouldn't have had the reaction time to make any extraneous movements. Though surprised, Zhang Hao felt no regret. Back then, that woman Lu Yun had gathered so many people to besiege him, even promising to spare his life if he handed over the supplies. But Zhang Hao didn't give a damn, and after returning, he annihilated them all. Seeing Bai Jia killed the remaining people, erupted into chaos. A few young men stepped forward, filled with righteous indignation. Demon, why did you kill her? You butcher. It was such a simple favor. Why wouldn't you help us? We're going to die anyway. Let's fight him. 3 or 4 young men charged forward. 1 or 2 of them were genuinely enraged, seemingly sharing some hidden relationship with Bai Jia. But Fang Ping stood in front of his boss, his cleaver dancing wildly as lives were taken. With a murderous aura, he declared, anyone who isn't afraid to die, come on. A bunch of idiots and saints who doesn't know how to morally blackmail. If you don't die here today, it would be a stain on society and a grave disrespect to my boss. With a swing of his cleaver, he claimed another reckless life. Only about 12 or 13 people remained, but Fang Ping stopped because the zombies were already approaching. The hailing company headquarters was vast, and it would take some time for thousands of zombies to gather, so they needed to hurry and break out. Fang Ping, take Hu Xiaonan and start the truck. Zhang Hao made a quick decision and gave rapid orders. They'll go loot the warehouse. Crow, circle low over the warehouse. If the number of zombies exceeds 1,000, tell me immediately. Yes, boss. Okay, daddy. The 3 of them and the crows split into action. Zhang Hao entered the cold storage and opened the doors of the various sections. The first was frozen seafood such as sea shrimp, crab meat, belt fish, oysters, clams, yellow croaker, lobster, scallops, squid, and more. The second was frozen meat like pork tenderloin, pig heads, pig ears, beef shank, bull penis, chicken wings, chicken legs, duck necks, large duck legs, and so on. Take it all away. All delicacies. They would never go hungry in the future. The third was frozen vegetables, green beans, carrots, corn, broccoli, asparagus greens, and a variety of other vegetables. Vegetables were a must, of course. Eating only meat wouldn't do, they needed vitamins. Take it. How what a bountiful harvest. So joyful the happiness was nearly overflowing. The frozen section held the most food, not just these meats, seafood, and vegetables. There were also some semi-finished and ready-to-eat items, such as golden chicken cutlets, croquettes, dumplings, hand-grabbed pancakes, fried dough sticks, pan-fried buns, crispy meat pies, fish balls, beef balls, hot pot base, and so on. The frozen area had the most supplies. A full 90,000 tons were scavenged. Notably, there were also several thousand boxes of ice cream popsicles, snow lotus pops, big pudding pops, and other assorted treats. After finishing with the frozen section, they moved on to the cold storage warehouses, which were mostly stocked with fresh vegetables and fruits. Things like tomatoes, lemons, and dragon fruit, totaling 40,000 tons. Then came the ambient temperature warehouses. Besides live seafood, they primarily contained non-staple foods, appliances, and daily necessities. For instance, toilet paper, cups, air fryers, water dispensers, instant noodles, spicy gluten sticks, dried tofu, self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice meat floss cakes, and so forth. It totaled 20,000 tons. Not that much, he thought, just as he was being smug. At that moment, the raven squeezed in through a vent, its expression extremely urgent. There are already 700 or 800 zombies blocking the entrance, and more are coming. That alarm is too much of a nuisance. The warehouse door is about to be forced open. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to. So soon. Then let's go. Zhang Hao felt a twinge of regret. The warehouse's power system was still running, proving there must be a backup generator. This was like a giant battery that could last a long time. It would certainly be useful if they established a base in the future. But finding it now was impossible. He would have to come back another time. Just then the door was already severely deformed from the battering. With a loud crash, the horde of zombies broke through. Fong Ping rammed them. Zhang Hao got into the vehicle just in time and gave the order. Fong Ping floored the accelerator, the engine roared, and the truck burst out of the warehouse gate. The zombies, starved for days, howled wildly, but they were utterly powerless against the heavy truck. They were sent flying in all directions, and soon the group was on the main street. As for the risk of the ring being exposed, there was no need to worry. The dozen or so people were overwhelmed by the zombie horde, devoured until not a scrap remained. How truly pitiful. Although hundreds of zombies were chasing behind him, he wasn't panicked at all, knowing they couldn't catch his vehicle. Suddenly the truck lurched and bounced violently. It steadied quickly, but its speed had noticeably decreased. What's going on? A roadblock? There wasn't one when we came. Fong Ping frowned. Zhang Hao in the passenger seat glanced at the rearview mirror and said with a composed expression, one of the rear tires blew. The speed dropped a bit. But it's fine, the zombies can't catch up. There shouldn't be any more obstacles. No sooner had he spoken than the truck jolted again. Another tire had burst, drastically cutting their speed. The pursuing zombies seized the opportunity and climbed onto the roof. Fong Ping's expression changed. Another one blew. Where are these obstacles coming from? It's not obstacles, Zhang Hao said, his voice low. It's the zombies. What? These mindless zombies know how to cause a flat tire. Boss, what do we do now? You two get off. Take the electric scooters back. They'll handle them. No. Boss, you. Before Fong Ping could finish, Zhang Hao cut him off. Don't get all sentimental. These level 1 zombies can't even break my defense. You staying will only slow me down. Xiao Fong, take Hu Xiaonan back to the supermarket. All right, boss. Be careful. Fong Ping wasn't one to hesitate. He decisively got out, with Hu Xiaonan taking advantage of the fact that the zombie numbers were still manageable. They mounted the electric scooters parked by the roadside, gunned the throttles, and sped back towards the supermarket. Before they left, Zhang Hao had Hu Xiaonan perform a divination for him. The danger level indicated was an orange, moderately dangerous, which was within his acceptable range. The raven didn't leave as it could fly and wasn't considered a burden. If an awakened one were to launch a surprise attack later, it could provide Zhang Hao with long-range support. Dad, you're not really staying behind just to cover their retreat, are you? The raven mused, perched on his shoulder. The zombies hadn't completely blocked the path earlier. Zhang Hao could have easily left with Fong Ping, but he chose to stay. That was clearly abnormal. No, Zhang Hao shook his head. Then what are you after? To eliminate a future threat. A future threat? What threat? You'll see in a moment. Go watch from a distance. They're closing in. Zhang Hao stood his ground, wielding a fire axe in both hands. His expression was utterly calm as the axe danced in a wild frenzy, cleaving zombies into pieces. A dozen level 1 zombies surged forward, but when their sharp teeth bit into his skin, they simply shattered. The zombies were baffled. Even the few smarter zombies were stunned. Was this still human skin? They tried to flee, but their heads were easily lopped off. Surrounded by a mountain of zombie corpses, Zhang Hao stood like a god of war. Though he wasn't truly tired, he feigned exhaustion as if trying to lure out a specific target. As expected, a zombie hidden within the horde could no longer hold back. With a whoosh, it raised a kitchen knife and swung it at the back of Zhang Hao's neck. But Zhang Hao was already on guard. He tilted his head slightly to dodge the attack, then spun around, bringing his axe down towards the creature's head. The zombie stepped back to evade, creating distance, as if waiting for an opening. Reflecting on the zombie's recent actions, Zhang Hao's heart grew heavy. Just as I suspected. It's a level 2 zombie, and an intelligent one at that. I have to eliminate it here and now. Low-level zombies could evolve. There was also a small chance they could awaken special abilities, but practically all low-level zombies were mindless. Even a mid-level zombie at level 4, if it awakened an ability, would at most be a bit more alert or know how to dodge attacks. But high-level zombies above level 7 were different. They not only possessed abilities, but were also adept at using cold weapons. Furthermore, their intelligence was significantly enhanced. Some could even devise elaborate, meticulous plans against humans. Mindless zombies were not a threat. The truly terrifying ones were those with brains. Yet this kitchen knife-wielding zombie, clearly only level 2, could not only dodge attacks and use weapons, but also knew to slash the tires to stop the truck. It even knew to conceal itself, sending waves of level 1 zombies to wear him down before moving in for the kill when he showed signs of fatigue. What did this imply? This was proof of the zombie's highly developed intelligence. This was an advanced evolution characteristic of high-level zombies, yet it possessed it at level 2, spanning a gap of 4 levels or more. A zombie like this would undoubtedly pose a tremendous threat in the future. Since he had encountered it, he had to destroy it no matter the cost. Moreover, after evolving into advanced zombies, some gradually realized they can absorb the crystal cores of their own kind to enhance themselves. They had just crushed at least 100 zombies with the heavy truck. If this cleaver zombie absorbed them, it might ascend to the 3rd tier within days. When that happens, trouble would truly arise. Once this cleaver zombie developed that awareness, it would evolve into an advanced zombie at an even faster pace. Thus it was best to nip it in the bud now. Although his awakened ability wasn't a physical type one, the thunderous body forging skill had already rendered his physique formidable, no less than any 2nd-tier physical type awakener. Since they were on the same level, there was no reason to fear. Zhang Hao charged forward without hesitation, but the cleaver zombie turned and fled. It seemed intent on using the 1st-tier zombies to wear him down, yet Zhang Hao had no intention of letting it escape. If you want fight me, you'll leave this place. You should know. These ordinary zombies can't block my path. At these words, the cleaver zombie halted. It clearly understood Zhang Hao's meaning, then turned back, baring its teeth, and lunged at him again. The cleaver clashed violently with the fire axe, but the cleaver zombie was forced back step by step. Its physical strength was clearly inferior to Zhang Hao's at the same level. Moreover, its weapon was no match for the fire axe. After a few clashes, the cleaver's blade curled, rendering it useless. The cleaver zombie froze. Its weapon was ruined. What now? Improvise. Zhang Hao swung his right hand down, aiming for its head. Yet the cleaver zombie remained utterly unflustered, its left fingertips glowing with a blue light. A chilling aura spread as its 5 fingers became encased in solid ice, and it actually crushed the axe into fragments with bare hands. At the same time, blue light flickered in its left hand again, forming an ice blade. Its razor-sharp edge sent a shiver down one's spine. SSS. The cleaver zombie actually uttered human speech. It seemed certain that the human before it would perish under this icy blade. Cost strike now. At this critical moment, Zhang Hao bellowed. The crow, observing from a distance, had its eyes flash with white light, activating its mental slowdown skill. The cleaver zombie was instantly stunned. Zhang Hao discarded the remaining axe handle and channeled his ability through his right palm. Arcs of electricity crackled with a sizzling sound. Die? Take my thunderous explosion. In that instant, the arcs in Zhang Hao's hand condensed into a blazing thunder bomb. His hand pierced straight through its head, then exploded with a bang, scattering red and white brain matter. The lightning in his hand extinguished, and he finally let out a sigh of relief. He had slain a 2nd-tier mutated zombie, and an intelligent one at that. It was no easy feat. That creature even wielded ice abilities, shattering his weapon with ease. No wonder whose Ionan's divination had indicated considerable danger. This now made sense. Fortunately, the brains of low-tier zombies were necrotic, but high-tier ones were different. Their intelligence had developed. Their brains seemed to have revived, in a way, yet they were unlike human brains. Their craving for human flesh remained unchanged, as if operating on a completely different system. He didn't fully understand the specifics. But in any case, once high-tier zombies gained intelligence, they were no longer immune to mental attacks like their low-tier counterparts. Thus, the crow's skill had successfully hit its mark. At that moment, the surrounding zombies charged recklessly at him, but Zhang Hao remained unmoved. After retrieving the cleaver zombie's 2nd-tier crystal core, he rode his electric scooter and left the scene with it. He didn't bother searching for the 1st-tier zombie's crystal cores. His energy was nearly depleted. He didn't even want to kill another zombie, let alone painstakingly hunt for cores amidst the horde. He would have to find another opportunity to recover them later. Half an hour later, he rode the scooter back to the supermarket. Fong Ping exclaimed in surprise, "Boss, you're actually okay." Zhang Hao retorted, "You were hoping I wouldn't be." "No, I was just worried about you." Alright, I'm too tired. I'll get some sleep first. Zhang Hao went upstairs, collapsed onto the bed, and fell asleep immediately. The day had been filled with chaos, killing zombies, outwitting humans, and then slaying an intelligent second-tier, mutated zombie with abilities. His body was utterly exhausted. He had set out late at night, and even witnessed the gruesome dried corpse series. Suffering severe mental trauma with both mind and body drained, how could he not be weary? The crow, having had an easy day, took on guard duty. Fang Ping and Hu Xiaonan whispered briefly on the first floor before returning to their container beds. Brother Fang, do you think the boss is different from us? Of course he is. The boss is brilliant, resourceful, and supremely powerful. Isn't that normal? That's not what I mean. When we came back to the supermarket, didn't you notice the shelves and the warehouse were cleared out? The boss must have taken everything beforehand, right? And then, but there's no sign of him transporting goods. Could he have a second ability? Like spatial Xiao, just keep that thought to yourself. We only need to be diligent and do our best to help the boss. There's no need to pry into other matters. Alright, Brother Fang. Fang Ping might be simple, but he wasn't foolish. The boss had hoarded supplies for 3 consecutive months, and they vanished overnight without any trace of transport. How could he not make the connection? Plus, during the final retreat, the boss had lingered in each warehouse for so long. How much could one person carry? Even a fool would know something was off. But as an employee, one could be curious without overstepping. Just focus on doing one's job. Hu Xiaonan hadn't yet reached that level of discretion, but he suddenly felt that following Zhang Hao promised a bright future. After all, having food and drink in the apocalypse was already the greatest comfort. The next day at 8 in the morning, the shelves on the first floor were neatly restocked. Hu Xiaonan and Fang Ping exchanged a glance, both silently refraining from commenting. But both had undergone subtle shifts in mindset. Zhang Hao began tallying the day's gains and reflecting. His crystal core stock hadn't grown much. After deducting today's consumption, he had 360 cores left. Supplies, however, had surged. He had looted a full 150,000 tons from the warehouses, bringing the total, including previous stockpiles, to 166,000 tons. Risks and rewards were proportional. During the final retreat, he had gotten a bit carried away. Though the heavy truck was formidable for ramming, it had its limits. If thousands of zombies surrounded it, they could bring it to a halt. Furthermore, fortunately, that second-tier zombie had been overly cautious. If it had chosen to burst the tires immediately, the truck might not have even made it out the gate. Supplies were important, but life was precious. He would have to be more cautious next time. Still, what about the crystal cores he hadn't recovered yesterday? He couldn't just let them go to waste. Going back as a group, just for the cores, seemed uneconomical and risky. Send one person alone. No, that would be suicide. Should Zhang Hao go himself? Could a boss do such menial labor? His gaze fell on the crow perched on his shoulder, and he said with an encouraging look, "Call you go." The crow was utterly bewildered. "Dad, I beg you, have a heart." "Are you serious?" the raven asked. "Dead serious," Zhang Hao replied. "Dad, I'm just a crow." The raven looked utterly disgruntled, its resistance palpable. "But you're no ordinary crow, you're an exceptionally gifted mutated raven. Low-level zombies are as dumb as bricks. They won't attack anything other than humans." Zhang Hao reasoned persuasively. "So no matter how many zombies there are, you'll be safe. Besides, you're smart now, and collecting crystal cores is a breeze. Using simple tools was no issue, let alone extracting crystal cores." Yet the raven still balked. What if there's another intelligent zombie? Earlier, Zhang Hao had shown it a map of Linhai City. The raven memorized every detail flawlessly in half an hour, a veritable living map. Using simple tools was no issue, let alone extracting crystal cores. Yet the raven still balked. What if there's another intelligent zombie like yesterday's? It might attack me for sure. But you can fly, you zombies can't. Even if I can get the cores, how do I collect them all? That's simple. Zhang Hao fetched a small black backpack from the second floor and slung it over the raven's neck. To prevent it from falling off, had designed and shaped harness that fit perfectly. The raven froze. "Where did this bag come from?" Zhang Hao smiled. "I modified it last night. A child size just right for you." The raven was speechless. It wanted to ask, are you a dad or a dog? Had he really stayed up all night to craft a pet backpack just for collecting crystal cores? "Kaka, step up. You are the only psychic big shot on our team. This mission is all yours. We'll throw you a celebration when you return. You're the best." Under the flurry of flattery from Fang Ping and Hu Xiaonan, the raven finally relented and returned after 2 hours. Since first-level crystal cores were only the size of mung beans, the small backpack held them easily. Zhang Hao asked, "How many?" "Should be around 200, right?" "Not 200, just 182. "What happened?" "While I was collecting, I noticed some zombie cores near the warehouse were already taken. Probably that second-level intelligent zombie from yesterday. No wonder killing 200 zombies yielded fewer cores." Zhang Hao's heart tightened, then eased. Yesterday's zombie had clearly realized that its kind could accelerate evolution through devouring cores. It had likely just reached the second level yesterday, when so many zombies were crushed to death. It had quietly scavenged and leveled up, but it wasn't a seasoned second-level mutant zombie. Still dangerous, but thankfully dealt with in time. In the early apocalypse, the gap between awakened individuals was naturally small. Once his body was strengthened by thunder body tempering, he could release lightning from every pore, forming a dual-layer defense with his flesh. Zombies of the same level couldn't even breach his defense. At higher levels, he could stimulate his brain cells with lightning, boosting neural reaction speed beyond level limits, making cross-tier combat possible. Combined with the previous 360 cores, he now had 542 first-level crystal cores, enough to elevate the entire team to level 3. Boss, what's next? Fong Ping asked. Kill more zombies or scavenge supplies. We can't neglect either, but the next target is too big. We'll only go after assembling the awakened team. For now, let's focus on the Jinwei residential area behind the supermarket. Kill zombies while scouting for talent. Recruit if possible. Zhang Hao spoke calmly. All right, shall we move now? Not yet. They'll visit next door and be back soon. Zhang Hao exited the supermarket's back door and walked a dozen meters to a barber shop. The shop was called Pang's Artisan Cuts. He knocked on the back door, but no one answered. In his past life, had heard of many top-tier awakened individuals, but few of their origins. This barber shop was one he knew. The owners were a pair of plump siblings commonly called Depang and Erpang, hence the shop's name. He didn't know how they rose to prominence, but he remembered they earned the fearsome moniker Black and White Duo early in the apocalypse. The siblings had awakened darkness and light respectively. The brother, a dark type, excelled at assassination, while the sister, a light type, could heal allies. The siblings had awakened darkness and light respectively. The brother, a dark type, excelled at assassination. The barbershop was not far from his supermarket. Before the apocalypse, Zhang Hao had gotten along well with them, considering them friends. In his past life, when Lu Yun incited numerous awakened to besiege him, the siblings, though absent, had sent several teams to support him. Zhang Hao remembered that debt. Given their straightforward personalities, he intended to invite them to join his team. Receiving no response, he forced the door open. Inside, 3 zombies draped in barber capes greeted him with fervent hospitality. Zhang Hao promptly decapitated them as a token of gratitude. The shop was small, about 70 to 80 square meters, with dried bloodstains on the floor. A tiny restroom in the back held few supplies. Zhang Hao speculated dead. Probably not. They must. After all, when the apocalypse first erupted, few dared to use street-facing shops as bases. It was suicide except for someone as capable as Zhang Hao. As for Sun Kai and his son earlier, they weren't brave, they were just foolishly reckless. The siblings weren't there, so Zhang Hao temporarily gave up and proceeded to scavenge the Jinwei residential area with Fong Ping. They collected both zombies and supplies. Since Fong Ping could now hold his own, they split up, boosting efficiency. Hu Xiaonan, lacking combat ability, stayed at the supermarket as a mascot. The Raven, now a second-level mutated creature, was tasked with protecting him, more than capable as a bodyguard. Jinwei was an upscale district with 14 residential buildings, each containing 4 units of 30 floors, with 4 households per floor. Even averaging 2 people per household, excluding survivors, the district likely held tens of thousands of zombies. After 5 grueling days, they cleared building 1 of all zombies, harvesting 632 first-level crystal cores with negligible supplies. On that day, Zhang Hao became the first to advance to a 3rd-level awakened, unlocking his 3rd skill, Thunder Enchantment. As the name suggests, this skill unleashes lightning and attaches it to the weapon, greatly enhancing its durability and lethality, a truly practical ability. If Zhang Hao had possessed this skill back, then that ice-type zombie wouldn't have been able to crush the fire axe with its bare hands. Instead, it would have suffered from body paralysis and sluggish reflexes. It is even more effective against awakened beings. Additionally, Thunder Body Tempering has further fortified his. No one below the 3rd tier can breach his defense unless they resort to a swarm tactic. Moreover, he can now discharge lightning from his pores to a certain extent. However, the consumption of his power is immense, and it only lasts for a second, insufficient to form a sustained thunder armor. Thus, for now, he cannot utilize it unless he reaches the 4th tier awakened level or above. But this goal is not worth considering for the moment, as 1st tier crystals have minimal effect on him now. With an ample supply of crystals, it would take over 3 months to reach the 4th tier. However, the consumption of his power is immense, and it only lasts for a second, insufficient to form a sustained thunder armor. Thus, for now, he cannot utilize it. But no matter, soon enough these zombies will evolve. In the meantime, the primary objective is to gather talent and form a team of awakened beings. Then we'll lead everyone on a second major raid. This time the target will be even larger than the previous fresh produce warehouse, and the spoils are worth anticipating. We must not neglect crystal collection along the way, as the consumption will be high once we have more people. In succession, Fong Ping and Raven also advanced to the 3rd tier, leaving 774 1st-tier crystals. Hu Xiaonan is still far from the 3rd tier, but as a 2nd tier, she now possesses basic combat capability. Teaming up with Raven, they began sweeping through Building 2 of Jinwei Residential Complex. During this time, they encountered some awakened beings, but they were either taking advantage of the chaos to loot, begging relentlessly for supplies, or sanctimoniously demanding escort to other cities. Isn't that outright unreasonable? So in these 5 days, they failed to recruit a single suitable member. What's going on? Am I being too harsh? Zhang Hao frowned, feeling a bit frustrated. But the quality of these people is terrible. I'd rather die than accept them. I refuse to believe. I can't find the right members. In the living room of Unit 128th Floor Building 2, Jinwei Residential Complex, 10 subordinates were struggling to gnaw on compressed biscuits, while their leader, Ho Jinglong, was eating bread. Xiao Lu swallowed with difficulty and took a sip of water. Boss, our food and water are running low. We can only last until tomorrow at most. We have to go out and find some. We've already scoured the upper and middle floors of this unit, but luck wasn't on our side. There wasn't much food. Where else can we go? Ho Jinglong retorted. To other units. Or the lower floors. That's not impossible. Then you go. I dare not. Then why are you spouting nonsense? Although each unit in the building had a security iron door, it was electrically operated. After the power outage in the complex, the zombies had destroyed it. As a result, many zombies roamed the lower floors and the complex grounds, and they dared not go downstairs. Initially, they had over a dozen people spread across the upper and middle floors, scavenging door to door. Sometimes encountering just 3 or 5 zombies would result in casualties, let alone venturing outside to other unit buildings. A second-tier awakened could barely manage. But among them, only Ho Jinglong was a second-tier awakened. As the leader, he was even less willing to take risks, even if the danger level was low. Since he had subordinates, why not let them do it? It's just a matter of a few deaths. Once they had food, no one would complain. Seeing that no one dared to go out, Ho Jinglong spoke up. All right, whoever volunteers to scavenge for food, they'll give you some crystals so you can advance to the second tier. Xiao Lu was tempted, but didn't step forward. The others remained unmoved. The allure of crystals was strong, but only if one lived to absorb them. Previously, they had lost several people while killing 60 or 70 zombies, yet Ho Jinglong, as the leader, had taken all the crystals for himself. To keep his subordinates working, killing zombies, and collecting supplies, he verbally promised to distribute crystals based on merit, but would renege as soon as the supplies were obtained. If not for the fact that everyone had complained the day before yesterday, Ho Jinglong wouldn't have reluctantly given each of them 2 crystals to barely appease them. Everyone harbored resentment, but dared not revolt, as Ho Jinglong was a ruthless character who might kill them if provoked. But using the same excuse again would make fools of them. Seeing his subordinates silent, Ho Jinglong's face turned cold. No one wants to go. You expect me, the boss, to do it. What use are you to me? Everyone remained silent, trembling with fear. At that moment, Fatty Su Mo whispered a suggestion from the crowd. Although there are many zombies on the lower floors, you boss are a second-tier awakened. If we all go together, the zombies might not pose a major threat. With more people, we can gather more food and water. What do you think? This was a good suggestion, and even the other subordinates agreed. But Ho Jinglong was displeased. So you're telling me what to do? No, Su Mo quickly shut up. Beside him, Su Mingyan rolled her eyes and muttered, Bro, why bother saying all that? That coward is too scared to kill zombies. You'd be better off hoping someone comes to rescue us. Just trying, or we'll really starve. Su Mo clutched his stomach and sighed helplessly. He used to weigh over 200 jin, but in these few days he had lost nearly 20 jin. Their whispers didn't escape the ears of the second-tier awakened. Ho Jinglong suddenly had an idea. I recall you 2 used to run a barber shop on the street in front of the south gate of the complex. Yes, boss, Su Mo answered reluctantly, a bad feeling creeping over him. Ho Jinglong smirked with a cunning glint. Isn't there a supermarket next door? If the owner isn't there, it'd be best to bring everything over. Su Mo, I believe you can do it. I really can't. Boss Zhang is surely in the supermarket. He has over a dozen employees. After 10 days, he must have developed a strong base. I can't get the supplies. Su Mo was panicking. In truth, he knew nothing about Boss Zhang's situation. On the day the apocalypse broke out, he and his sister had fled straight home to this apartment in Building 2 of Jinwei Residential Complex. Later, to band together, they joined Ho Jinglong's survivor group. Who would have thought this guy was utterly unfit to be a leader? It infuriated him to no end. And now this man was actually asking him to go to the supermarket. If Boss Zhang wasn't there, fine, but if he was causing him harm, would be a disaster. So Su Mo had no choice but to make up excuses, hoping to dissuade him. But Ho Jinglong wasn't fooled. He said in an unyielding tone, then just borrow some. Aren't you on good terms with him? Wouldn't he give you a little food? Su Mo tried to resist. Boss, I think. I don't care what you think. I say it, and that's final. Ho Jinglong glanced at Su Mingyan beside him, his tone dripping with menace. Su Mo, your sister may be a bit chubby, but she's still somewhat attractive. If the brothers have no food, they might have to eat something else. How dare you? If you lay a single finger on my sister, he'll fight you to the death. Su Mo rose to his feet, a ruthless expression spreading across his face. Ho Jinglong walked over, slapping his plump face in a degrading manner, and sneered mercilessly. You're just a first-tier awakener. What makes you think you can fight me? Su Mo, do you really think you're something special? Su Mo clenched his teeth. He was on the verge of losing his temper and striking out. But beside him, Su Mingyan tightly gripped his hand, forcing him to calm down. He understood he absolutely could not act impulsively. Others had resisted before, but without exception they were all killed. The gap between a second-tier and a first-tier awakener was vast. But someone like Ho Jinglong, who lacked real combat experience, could still be killed with a certain probability if everyone acted together. However, there would certainly be casualties, and no one wanted to die or take that gamble. And Su Mo still had his defenseless sister. If he lost the gamble and died, that would be one thing, but what would become of her? Would she be humiliated and killed? This was absolutely not the outcome he wanted. So he had to keep enduring, waiting until someday a turning point might. Ho Jinglong walked back, his tone shifting to a smile. I, Ho Jinglong, am a good man. I never force my men to do what they don't want. Su Mo, if you're unwilling, then forget it. When the food runs out and everyone is starving, they might come looking for your sister to have some fun. Don't blame me then. How about it, everyone want to play now? Xiao Lu immediately led the cheers. We want to play? Whatever the boss says goes. Play. Play. Huh. I can't hold back anymore. The boss goes first. Well, follow. She's a bit chubby, but shall do. The others joined in the jeering. Some even started to undo their pants, their carnal desires revealing their ugliness. Su Mingyan's face turned pale. She could only tremble behind her brother, clutching his clothes. Su Mo had no choice but to grit his teeth and compromise. He'll go. Please, boss, spare my sister. Whether she's spared depends on your performance. Then my sister and I will set off now. That won't do. What if you run away with her? Your sister stays. Su Mo knew he couldn't argue. Without leaving a hostage, it was impossible. Fortunately, Ho Jinglong promised not to touch his sister until he brought back food. Being a suspicious man, he also sent his trusted subordinate Xiao Lu to keep an eye on Su Mo to prevent him from escaping alone. The elevator had no power, so they had to take the stairs. Xiao Lu, holding a watermelon knife, couldn't help but worry. There must be at least 50 or 60 zombies on the lower floors. How do we get out? We just rush out. What else can we do? If we're lucky and they're spread out, we have a chance. If they're clustered, we have to fight. Or are we hoping some kind soul has already killed all the zombies downstairs? Su Mo said expressionlessly. He actually had a plan. If they couldn't break through, he would stab Xiao Lu in the back, then use the zombies feasting on him as a distraction to escape. A higher probability of success. Xiao Lu sighed. Oh, what bad luck. Aren't you Ho Jinglong's lackey? Why did he send you to die? Who knows? Just bad timing, I guess. Chatting casually, they soon reached the 8th floor. Both of their expressions turned grim. Below, hordes of zombies would be wandering. They had to rush down the stairs in one go, just as Su Mo said, either lucky enough to break through or unlucky enough to be devoured by zombies. Damn it. Let's go. They exchanged a glance, took a deep breath, and then sprinted down as fast as they could, clutching their watermelon knives. But the more they ran, the stranger it felt. There were indeed zombies, a few at first on the 8th floor. By the 4th and 5th floors, there were only 1 or 2. By the 2nd floor, there were none at all. Most importantly, the street was piled high with zombie corpses, at least 50 or 60, all in gruesome states of death. Holy shit. What the hell? Did some kind soul really kill all the zombies downstairs for us? Su Mo and Xiao Lu exchanged a look, their faces unable to hide their shock. 50 or 60 zombies. And in such a dense cluster, someone took them all out. Who was this powerhouse? At least a second-tier awakener, right? Just as they were trying to steady their emotions, several apartment doors nearby opened. 3 people walked out. Zhang Hao, Fong Ping, and Hu Xiaonan, along with the laid-back Raven. Su Mo was pleasantly surprised. Boss Zhang. Big guy, what are you doing here? Zhang Hao saw Su Mo's slightly gaunt face, and after a moment of hesitation, began to guess his situation. After a brief chat, he roughly understood Su Mo's predicament. The brother and sister were being exploited, but how did they rise to power in their past life? Had they endured humiliation, slowly grown stronger, and then slit Ho Jinglong's throat? Then after some time purged the group and earned the title Black and White Duo with his sister? Yeah, that must be it. Boss Zhang, did you guys kill all these zombies? Su Mo asked uncertainly. Yeah, we did. We were gathering supplies. Building 1 next door has already been cleared out. Su Mo was stunned, finding it hard to believe. They had killed an entire building full of zombies. That must have been at least 700 or 800 zombies. Were they that formidable? His employee looked pretty strong too, with a bit of a dull expression. Well, except for the kid and that crow. Could they perhaps join forces to kill Ho Jinglong? No, that wouldn't work. Although Ho Jinglong was weak, he had over a dozen men under him. If he decided to fight to the death, Boss Zhang might also be in danger. For a moment, he thought about giving up. But Sumo still provided enough information. There's no more supplies upstairs. Our people have already scoured everything. The food we've hoarded over the past 10 days is gone. So Ho Jinglong sent us down to gather more. With just 50 or 60 zombies in the stairwell, he sent only the two of you to collect supplies. Zhang Hao squinted. Sumo smiled bitterly, no choice. So what are you planning to do next? Zhang Hao asked again. Could you spare us some food and water, boss Zhang? They'll definitely repay you in the future. If I can't get supplies, my sister and I will be in big trouble. I really have no other way. Sumo pleaded. Actually, it doesn't have to be that complicated. What's your relationship with this guy, eh? Nothing. He's Ho Jinglong's trusted man. Hey, are you two done chatting? You've gathered so much food, can you spare some for us? Our boss is also a second-tier awakener. Give us some face. More friends, more paths. Xiao Lu was getting impatient, grumbling incessantly. Zhang Hao's expression remained calm. Fong Ping understood immediately. With a swing of his cleaver, he beheaded the babbling Xiao Lu, blood splattering everywhere. Hey. Sumo's eyes widened in shock at the scene. He didn't know what to say, but he felt a surge of satisfaction. Then Zhang Hao picked up Xiao Liu's head, gently placed it in Sumo's arms, and a devilish smile curled on his lips. Don't worry. Go upstairs and kill Ho Jinglong. Then there won't be any more trouble. Actually, from the worried expression on Sumo's face, just now Zhang Hao had already guessed what the other was thinking. These siblings had reached a dead end, and even though they saw a glimmer of hope before them, they hesitated to drag him into their troubles, choosing instead to ask only for food and water. Based on his past lives, understanding these siblings were not the type to break their word. Back then, Zhang Hao had offered them no substantial help, merely a friendly rapport before the apocalypse. Yet when crisis struck, Sumo still dispatched people that aid him. Such genuine siblings deserved a helping hand. Even if they chose not to join his group, he would still lend his support. The debt of gratitude from his past life must be repaid in this one. Sumo was deeply moved, but still voiced his concerns. But Ho Jinglong is a second-tier awakened with over a dozen first-tier awakened under his command. Isn't it too dangerous? Should we call for more people? No need. We're enough. Zhang Hao flashed a confident smile. In truth, not to mention himself, even Fong Ping and the Raven could handle it. This Ho Jinglong had zero combat experience. He probably couldn't even beat second-tier Hu Xiaonan. All right, but this head. Take it. Oh, what's it for? Nothing much, just for show. Sumo felt a sudden urge to speak, but wasn't sure if he should. You want me to carry a head just for show? And that smile of yours was terrifying, really giving me the creeps. Sumo still felt uneasy. So how are we going to kill Ho Jinglong? We need a plan, right? What plan? Just go in and kill him. With that, Zhang Hao led Fong Ping upstairs. Sumo was a bit panicked. Wasn't this too rash? Since the middle and upper floors had no supplies left, they didn't stop until they reached the 28th floor. At Zhang Hao's signal, Sumo reluctantly stepped forward to knock. Wang Er, the guard, peered through the peephole at Zhang Hao and the others. Instead of opening the door immediately, he coldly demanded, Sumo, what's the meaning of this? Are you planning to betray us? It's not betrayal. Didn't the boss want to borrow supplies? I brought the supermarket owner to discuss it in person. How many of them are there? Are they armed? 3 people, no weapons. Where's Xiao Lu? I don't see Xiao Lu. Zhang Hao was done with the chit-chat. He glanced at Fong Ping, who raised his cleaver and hacked down. With a bang, the security door was breached. Sumo reacted quickly, hurling Xiao Liu's head with a sudden twist. The unexpected door breach stunned Wang Er. He instinctively caught the object thrown at him, but when he saw the bloody head, a chill ran down his spine. He dropped it in terror and let out a piercing scream. Holy crap! A head! A head! Mamma mia! Before the scream could end, Fong Ping's blade fell, and Wang Er was dead. The head then arced through the air, landing on the coffee table around which the living room crowd gathered, sending several timid underlings scrambling backward. Ho Jinglong, however, was unafraid. He hadn't killed many zombies, but he had killed plenty of people. He stood up and coldly demanded, Who are you? Why are you killing people without any reason? Didn't you send someone to borrow supplies from me? Now you're asking me. You want supplies? I kill your men. Got a problem with that? Zhang Hao sneered disdainfully. No problem. As long as you give me supplies, you can kill as many as you want. Ho Jinglong was furious, but dared not push back. Besides, underlings could be replaced. He didn't really care. What mattered was that only 3 of them dared to act so recklessly, which suggested there might be more than one second-tier awakened among them. It was better to play weak. Seeing such a spineless Ho Jinglong, Zhang Hao shook his head and provoked. I kill your men, and you have no backbone. And this guy gets to be the boss. How disappointing. How about this? Anyone who dares to attack Ho Jinglong gets 10 boxes of instant noodles. Whoever kills him gets an extra 5 boxes of canned meat. The moment those words were spoken, everyone stirred with restlessness. They hadn't dared to rebel before, because there was no awakened of the same tier as Ho Jinglong. Now this man's audacity gave them a glimmer of hope. Kill Ho Jinglong. Huh. As long as we fight, we eat. I'm not going to be the first to die. Let's kill that bastard Ho Jinglong. We've had enough. The crowd was instantly incited. Of the 12 8-men, but Ho Jinglong was still a second-tier awakened. Even without combat experience, he couldn't be beaten by an insufficient number of attackers. Soon 8 bodies lay on the floor. Ho Jinglong wiped his machete clean and spat at them. Come and die, all of you. You really think I'm made of clay? This guy deliberately sowed discord among you, and you couldn't even see it. Truly a bunch of idiots. Now there are 4 of you left. Don't think I didn't see you wanted to make a move earlier. Kill him now, and he'll let bygones be bygones. The remaining 4 had no choice but to steel themselves and charge. But predictably, they all fell under Fong Ping's great cleaver. His casual swings carried an inexplicable artistic flair that made Ho Jinglong's eyelids twitch. This man was clearly far stronger than him. You misunderstand. I don't have the time to sow discord. I just felt a sudden urge to indulge my twisted sense of humor, that's all, Zhang Hao said with a mocking tone. I know you're no ordinary awakened. Among the best, even among second tiers. But do you really think I've long suspected that ingrate Su Mo would betray me. Now your sister is in my hands. Don't take another step and let me leave, or I'll kill her right now. Ho Jinglong crouched down and roughly dragged a bound Su Mingyan out from behind the sofa. His machete hovered near her fair neck, his eyes gleaming with ruthlessness. Don't touch my sister. You're dead. Su Mo panicked, already at a loss. Just as he feared. This was a miscalculation. They shouldn't have been so reckless. But before his panic could settle, Fong Ping, like a mole, silently emerged from the ceramic tiles behind Ho Jinglong. With a squelch, a dagger pierced through Ho Jinglong's skull. In his dying moments, he heard Fong Ping's merciless mockery. Sorry, but you're mistaken. We're third-tier awakened. What good is a hostage to you? Killing you doesn't even require the boss' personal touch. Even if you tried for 100 years, you wouldn't be worthy of a single toenail clipping from my boss. With a thud, Ho Jinglong collapsed and died. In his final moments, he had attempted to struggle at least to drag Su Mingyan down with him. Yet unbeknownst to him, to protect the hostage, Fong Ping, under the boss' instruction, decisively activated his skill, Earth Spike. The moment Ho Jinglong seized Su Mingyan, 5 earth spikes pierced through his 4 limbs. What? You ask where the 5th one went? This one was quite formidable. The final earth spike drove from his crotch, piercing straight through his abdomen from bottom to top, shredding his internal organs into a mess. Such excruciating pain rendered him utterly immobile. He was already as good as dead at that moment, but to be safe, Fong Ping employed his newly comprehended 3rd skill, burial. He instantly burrowed into the earth, then emerged behind him to drive a dagger through his skull, delivering the most lethal and crucial finishing blow. Thus, Ho Jinglong had no chance to harm the hostage. The only drawback was that the 3rd skill, being newly mastered, consumed a significant amount of his energy. He could only remain underground for a mere 10 seconds. Heavens! Su Mo and Su Mingyan were both stunned. From the moment the hostage was taken to Ho Jinglong's death, everything happened too swiftly. The second-tier awakener who had oppressed them so heavily died this easily. So powerful, so formidable. Was this the might of a 3rd-tier awakener? Such terrifying prowess. If Fong Ping was this strong, just how powerful was Boss Zhang, whom he admired so deeply? They couldn't even begin to imagine. Zhang Hao patted Su Mo on the shoulder and asked with a smile, "Big fatty, how do you feel?" "Awesome. Unbelievably strong," Su Mo exclaimed in awe. "That's not what I meant," Zhang Hao continued. "I'm asking how you feel about killing these people. Do you think they didn't deserve death? Should we have shown them mercy?" "Not at all," Su Mo replied. "They deserve to die. Anyone who dares to speak disrespectfully to my sister deserves to die 100 times over. They were nothing but trash." Zhang Hao nodded, inwardly satisfied with Su Mo's answer. He had feared Su Mo might be overly merciful, thinking these men were only joking and hadn't actually harmed his sister, thus not deserving death. If that were the case, Zhang Hao wouldn't dare to take him in. These men weren't merely joking, they simply lacked the opportunity. If Su Mo hadn't encountered him, hadn't found food and water, or had died at the hands of zombies, then Su Mingyan, without her brother's protection, would have been reduced to a tool for venting desires, tortured repeatedly, and cruelly killed. So yes, these men deserve their fate. Zhang Hao didn't waste time and got straight to the point. "Big fatty, little fatty, are you willing to join us?" "Huh, really? My sister and I are only 1st-tier awakeners and you're already 3rd-tier. Won't we hold you back?" Su Mo was flattered but also lacked confidence. Zhang Hao smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, your talents are remarkable. It's just that you lack crystal cores. Once you join, I'll give each of you 50 crystal cores first to help you advance to the 2nd tier. 50 crystal cores? Su Mo was stunned, speechless. The dozen or so awakeners in their group had barely managed to scrounge up 60 or 70 over 10 days. And now Boss Zhang was offering them 100 cores just for joining. What kind of tycoon was this? Why hesitate any longer? What were they waiting for? Zhang Hao thought for a moment and added a reminder, Since you're new, you're not yet familiar with many abilities, combat strategies, or zombie characteristics. When we get back to the base, ask Hu Xiaonan to share his experience. He only joined 5 days ago. Don't consult Fang Ping, his fighting style isn't suitable for you. Alright, boss. Hu Xiaonan nodded. When Su Mo and Su Mingyan saw the 15-year-old boy, their feelings of inadequacy eased a little. He had just joined the team, so he must be a first-tier awakener too. But to ingratiate themselves, the siblings asked a few more questions, only to be immediately crushed. He was a second-tier awakener. Hey, you only joined 5 days ago, and you've already advanced. This boy's talent was formidable. Suddenly, they felt the pressure again. By the way, why was Fang Ping's fighting style unsuitable for them? Because when Fang Ping was at the second tier, he comprehended a second skill, one that allowed him to use his energy to form armor from earth on his body, providing considerable defense. Most second-tier zombies couldn't break through his defense unless it was a special one like the ice attribute zombie they had encountered. This meant Fang Ping was also immune to infection, and he had now adopted a reckless heating combat style. Moreover, he had the long-range skill Earth Spike and the stealth skill Burial. This guy was now a mage, a warrior, and an assassin, 3 classes in one. He had almost no weaknesses and was incredibly versatile in battle. So Su Mo's style wasn't suited for this. Su Mo, with his dark attribute, could eventually transform into a shadow, making him a formidable assassin. As for Su Mingyan, she was initially a dedicated healer. Her role might change in the mid to late stages, as she possessed the light attribute, not the healing attribute. Raven's spiritual attribute was a supplementary support, while Hu Xiaonan's divination was the ultimate safeguard, ensuring the safety of the entire team. As for Zhang Hao, he was naturally the pillar, a tank with offensive capabilities. Now with a mage, assassin, warrior support, and healer all present, the Awakener team was finally assembled. Zhang Hao felt immensely gratified. After retrieving the crystal cores from Ho Jinglong and his men, everyone returned the way they came. On the very night the team was formed, they enjoyed a steaming hot pot with beef tallow on the second floor, moving Su Mo and his sister to the brink of tears. They had been eating nothing but compressed biscuits for days and were sick of it. Now, upon joining a new team, the boss had prepared such a lavish meal for them. They felt both honored and pressured. What if the boss had misjudged them? What if their talents were too poor, and would they be kicked out of the team? Would they never get to eat hot pot like this again? Seeing the siblings' anxiety, Zhang Hao couldn't help but say, "Don't put so much pressure on yourselves. Your talents are genuinely high. Just absorb the crystal cores step by step. And we eat hot pot every day. Oh, it wasn't specially made for you." "Alright, boss." Su Mo nodded. Because they didn't know how to cook before, they had been living on instant noodles. Later they realized how foolish that was. Even if they couldn't cook, couldn't they make hot pot? Just throw in the hot pot base, boil the water, and dip in lamb and beef rolls, vermicelli, tripe intestines, and shrimp paste. Wasn't that a delicious feast? But even hot pot, after eating it for a week straight while not yet sick of the taste, their posteriors couldn't take it anymore. It was burning with pain. So they really needed to cook proper meals. They wondered if these two knew how. Girls usually could write. Zhang Hao looked at Su Mingyan with hopeful anticipation and asked, "Little fatty, can you cook?" "It doesn't need to be elaborate, just normal dishes. Our team urgently needs a skilled chef." "I can cook. I'm decent at it, and am certified," Su Mingyan replied modestly. "Awesome. The chef has finally arrived. Haha, no more hot pot every day? What a relief." Zhang Hao, Fang Ping, and Hu Xiaonan were overjoyed. Listen to them. Could anyone believe this? Complaining about eating hot pot in the apocalypse. If the survivors who were starving meal after meal heard this, they'd probably be furious enough to choke themselves to death. "Air Pang, I'll leave tomorrow's meals to you." "Sorry for the trouble," Zhang Hao said with a smile. "No trouble at all, it's only right." Su Mingyan nodded, feeling a sense of relief. Fortunately, she had studied at a culinary school elsewhere and later obtained a first-class chef certification. She had also worked in the kitchen of a 5-star hotel for several years, but her brother wanted them to reunite as siblings. So she gave up that job and came to Linhai City to run a barbershop together. Yet before they could run it for long, the apocalypse erupted. She had thought this skill would go unused, only to find it caught the eye of her new boss. Su Mingyan was also grateful she could cook. If the siblings fell short in combat, at least they could compensate with meals. They exchanged a glance and resumed devouring the meat in silence. But at the dining table, besides the 5 of them, the ordinary-looking crow had also joined them. Its expression was eerily human, giving off a strange sensation. Seeing Su Mo and Su Mingyan glance at it from time to time, the raven couldn't help but say, "Hey, what are you staring at? Never seen a crow eating hot pot before." Holy crap, a crow that can talk." The siblings were so shocked that the mutton fell. The raven said disdainfully, "Ignorant fools. I can not only talk, but I can also curse, sing, dance, and rap. Chick, 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 you're so beautiful, baby. Yeah, don't treat the new members like that. Be polite, okay?" Zhang Hao frowned and stopped it. This creature was far too sharp-tongued. Ordinary people could hardly bear it. Only Hu Xiaonan was somewhat familiar with the Raven, and their arguments were merely for fun. Suemo said nonchalantly, "Boss, it's fine. We won't argue with a talking pet. After all, we're awakened destined to kill more zombies." "Oh really? So you're an awakened big deal. I'm a mutated crow and at level 3. Though I'm lazy. I've killed far more zombies than you two." The Raven said arrogantly, "So what if you can cook?" "I the Raven am the smartest. If I'm willing to learn. There's nothing I can't master. Maybe you'll even play basketball someday. You need to know your place. You two are the lowest in rank and strength in the whole team, Humph. That's enough. It's just like that, don't mind it." Zhang Hao flicked it on the head, making it yelp in pain. Su Mo and Su Mingyan felt disheartened again. Were they truly the weakest in the team? Good heavens. They couldn't even match a crow. Don't compare yourselves to Yaya. Even among mutated creatures, its talent is top-notch, almost on par with mine. Zhang Hao offered a word of comfort which slightly eased the siblings' minds. But they didn't want to dwell on this topic. Suemo thought for a moment and said, "But don't crows prefer carrion? Is it really okay to eat hot pot?" Before Zhang Hao could explain, the Raven said scornfully, "Crows have never liked carrion. Though intelligent, they lack the hunting prowess of eagles. If they can't hunt, should they starve? So they only scavenge what's available, like carrion insects or eggs from other birds. Crows are omnivores. Our digestive systems are far stronger than yours. If we can eat carrion, why can't we have lamb hot pot? Such ignorant humans." "Is that so? I've learned something new." Suemo nodded humbly. Not knowing was simply not knowing, and there was no point in arguing. The Raven said haughtily, "Good attitude. From now on you may call me the erudite crow. Be my personal attendant. They'll teach you knowledge while you groom my feathers, little Sue. This opportunity is rare, so come pay homage to Her Majesty." Suemo was dumbfounded. Was this still a crow? Could there be a human soul trapped inside its body? Zhang Hao flicked it again. "Don't show off just because you've learned a thing or two. Whether human or crow, learn to be humble. Understand? Truly erudite people never boast about it, like me." The Raven obediently said, "Yes, Daddy." "What was that about little Sue and Her Majesty? What nonsense have you been watching again?" "I found some TV shows and movies saved on my phone. There's something called The Legend of Zhang Hao. It's quite addictive, especially the line, 'All these years of love and time in the end were misplaced.'" Zhang Hao said irritably, "Stop watching those dramas." "No, Your Majesty, I can't. One more word and he'll confiscate the phone. You won't watch anything then." The Raven outwardly conceded, but planned to watch in secret later. If Zhang Hao ever caught it would just kneel and apologize. What was the big deal? After the meal, Zhang Hao sat on the largest sofa. On the coffee table in the center lay a map, and the others gathered. "Our awakened team is now established, so our next major target is a grain depot about 40 kilometers away. It's massive, likely more than twice the size of the last warehouse." Zhang Hao scanned the group and said, "Moreover, Depang and Airpang just joined the team, and we're not yet familiar with teamwork. As first level awaken, their combat power is limited. So let's continue clearing building 2 of Jinhua community first, and only move after they reach level 2. What do you think?" "No objections. Whatever the boss says." "Same here, will follow the boss." Hu Xiaonan and Fong Ping exchanged a knowing glance. This time they were certain the boss definitely had a spatial ability, an enormous space capable of storing vast amounts of supplies. Otherwise, why would every target be so ambitious? Though they had guessed it, both kept the secret tacitly. In their eyes, this was a sign of the boss' trust, otherwise they would never have been allowed to figure it out. Su Mo and Su Mingyan also nodded. "We have no problem with that." Still, they couldn't understand why the target had to be a grain depot. What use was such a big target? 5 people and a crow. How much supplies could they carry? Why not choose a nearby supermarket, underground mall, or department store? Closer distances meant they could scavenge plenty each time. Puzzled as they were, questioning the leader's decisions would be tactless. Besides, the boss had just saved them today. All they needed to do was follow orders. After roughly finalizing the plan, they sat around chatting. The hot pot had left them all smelling strongly. Su Mingyan wrinkled her nose and said, "The smell is too strong. I want to take a shower." "Boss, is there running water here?" Suemo also whispered, "I want to wash up too. It's been over 10 days. I smell awful." Zhang Hao looked at them, his tone growing serious. "Don't use the tap water and don't bathe with it. Remember, never drink it. The water has been contaminated." Suemo and the others were utterly shocked. "The water is polluted. Even tap water can't be drunk. Boiling it won't help either. It's useless. Awakened ones might just get a stomachache from a small amount, but too much could be fatal. Ordinary people would die from a single sip, and even bathing would weaken an awakened." Upon hearing this, everyone gasped in horror. Ordinary people would die from drinking it. Even awakened ones couldn't consume too much. They couldn't even bathe in it. But without tap water, what then? Water sources were absolutely vital. Having food but no water would still mean death. Zhang Hao had long known the water would be contaminated, and not just the tap water. The reservoirs and underground rivers were also undrinkable. In the apocalypse's onset, many perished not from zombies, but from drinking contaminated water. That was precisely why he had stockpiled a full 7,000 tons of water. Among it, 4,000 tons were bottled water and 3,000 tons were purified and filtered water. For now, it was sufficient. But once a settlement was established and the population grew, this amount would be a mere drop. Yet there was a potential solution. Light-aligned awakened could use the skill purification light to cleanse water sources. In his past life, Su Mingyan had possessed this very ability. The problem, however, was that light-aligned awakened were exceedingly rare. Moreover, purification light required at least level 7 to be learned, which demanded a long period of waiting. If one's talent was insufficient, they could never hope to grasp this skill. Not every light-aligned awakened would have the chance to learn it. Even if someone reached level 7 and learned the skill, the amount of water one person could purify was minimal. For now, this problem had no solution. They could only wait and hope for a change in the future. There's some purified water in the warehouse. You can use it for bathing and washing vegetables. Anyone who wants to can go ahead. I've also prepared bathtubs, wash basins, shampoo, and body wash. Take one set each and keep them in your rooms. Zhang Hao's words brought delight to everyone. Fang Ping and Hu Xiaonan knew that the warehouse's supplies were just the tip of the iceberg, so they took their water and bathtubs without a second thought and left. Unaware of the full extent, Su Mo and Su Mingyan thought they should conserve resources. Such wastefulness wouldn't do. Su Mingyan hesitated for a moment before speaking. Brother, how about we bathe together? Together? Sis, are you out of your mind? How old are we? No, I mean, I'll go first. If you don't mind, you can use my leftover water. What do you think? Isn't that a bit improper? What's improper about it? It's the apocalypse now. We should save wherever we can. Su Mingyan's face flushed with embarrassment, but she felt she had no other choice. Zhang Hao found it ridiculous. Saving is one thing, but this is going too far. Just take the water you each need. Your sister's not a child anymore. Using someone else's leftover bathwater. If word gets out, how can you still call yourself a brother? Exactly, the boss said so. All right, thank you, boss. Su Mo and Su Mingyan carried their water and headed to their respective rooms on the first floor. As they left, the raven cast a pitiful look. Daddy, I want a bath too. Zhang Hao was puzzled. Didn't I just give you one yesterday? Why again? The raven retorted without shame. Sister Mingyan is bathing alone with no one to scrub her back. How pitiful. I can go and scrub her back and even apply body wash. Zhang Hao sneered. Oh, I never thought you were such an old pervert bird. I didn't see that coming. Hee, I learned it from you, Daddy. Nonsense. I'm so proper, how could I be an old pervert? So can I go? Sister must have already undressed by now. She must be waiting for me. Don't even think about it. Stay put. Wah, Zhang Hao rolled his eyes at it. You're just a crow, what are you trying to pull? She just joined us and you're already pulling these stunts. Don't scare her off. That evening the group geared up and entered Building 2 to clear out zombies. Building 2 seemed relatively fortunate. Aside from Unit 1, there weren't many zombies. They had cleared all the way to the last unit, collecting only a little over 200 crystals. Many survivors were in the building, including a few newly formed awakened teams. On the 17th floor of Unit 4, they encountered a large zombie horde at the door, a full 40 of them. Fang Ping, clad in an earth armor, charged in with a cleaver, hacking away and taking down zombies one by one. His ferocity was like that of a battle god, leaving the others dumbfounded, especially Su Mingyan and Su Mo. They couldn't emulate his fighting style, but in just one night, they had grown considerably. This feels amazing. Come on, you trash zombies. Die. As Fang Ping felled the last zombie, his earth armor crumbled off. Wiping the sweat from his brow, he walked out the door and grinned at Zhang Hao. Boss, done. Zhang Hao looked at him and cautioned, this time was for you to experience the skill. But next time, unless you're in mortal danger, don't use it. It consumes too much energy. You can only sustain it for 3 minutes. If the danger isn't resolved after 3 minutes, or if you haven't broken through the zombie encirclement, you'll be in real peril. Either reserve some energy in advance, or be ready to use burial to escape danger. Fang Ping nodded seriously. I understand, boss. He knew all too well that this skill couldn't be used recklessly. He couldn't compare to the boss brute strength. The boss defense was a permanent enhancement to his physique, while his own only made him a hero for 3 minutes. After collecting the crystals, the team ascended to the 18th floor. On the 18th floor, 3 apartments were already open, their zombies and supplies cleared. Only the last one remained. Following routine, Fang Ping knocked on the door. There were survivors inside, and a peculiar sound emanated from within. Oh, that's the spot. Slow down, slow down. Hold on, I'll be right there. Soon after, the door opened to reveal a young man. He was strikingly handsome, his hair seemingly freshly washed. A strand of wet bangs hung over his forehead, exuding a hint of a certain movie star's charm. But compared to the protagonist and the esteemed readers here, he was still several notches below. Are you here to patronize Xiaoya's business too? 5 people. Oh, a kid and a woman. You folks have quite the tastes, but Xiaoya's tired today. Wu Yinfeng, a cigarette dangling from his lips, said nonchalantly, besides it's 3 in the morning. How about coming back tomorrow? Xiaoya doesn't have the energy to serve you all well, and I hate for things to turn unpleasant. My apologies, folks. Next time I'll give you a 50% discount. Fang Ping and the others were stunned. They hadn't expected this room to be a place of service, and for a moment none of them knew what to say. Just as Zhang Hao was about to speak, another woman emerged from outside the door, scolding Wu Yinfeng with a laugh. Old Wu, that's enough. What the hell does my business have to do with you? Haven't I served you enough already? Wu Yinfeng chuckled, enough. Though another half hour would have been perfect. Don't brag. Your body can barely manage 10 minutes on a good day. Half an hour. You'd drop dead on the spot. There are outsiders here. Don't air my dirty laundry. I have a reputation to keep. You have no reputation to speak of. If it weren't for old-time sake, I wouldn't even take your business. Xiaoya said with disgust, I don't know what you second-tier awakeners do all day. Get the hell back to your own den. All you do is mess up my business. Alright, I'm off. Take care of yourself, Xiaoya. If 5 is too many, take them one at a time. Don't end up unable to walk tomorrow. Wu Yinfeng teased. I know. Enough with the chatter. Get lost. Alright, I'm going. Seeing Xiaoya was truly angry, Wu Yinfeng shook his head with a wry smile and left. He headed downstairs, seemingly not a resident of Building 2. Seeing this, Zhang Hao was surprised. Their business was doing quite well if people from other buildings could come here. Interesting. So annoying. He always talks too much. Sorry about that, guests. Please excuse the scene. Xiaoya put on a professional smile. It's fine. Who was that? Zhang Hao asked curiously. His name is Wu Yinfeng. He lives in Building 4, one of the few second-tier awakeners in this compound. He has his own awakening team and has been coming here often lately. Xiaoya introduced with a smile. I'm just an ordinary person. I used to do this before the apocalypse. When the outbreak hit, I had nothing to eat, so I just continued my old trade. Luckily, I had built up a good reputation. Many old customers became awakeners, and they still come to support my business. Life is tolerable. Oh, I see. Zhang Hao suddenly understood. No wonder there were so few zombies and resources in this building. The awakeners had already cleared them out. After all, this was the only place of entertainment around. Cowards like Ho Jinglong were the exception. Xiaoya glanced at Zhang Hao and his group, her expression turning hesitant. Guess I can handle women and children, but 5 of you together. I'm afraid that's a bit much. I've been busy all day, and I'm exhausted. How about one at a time? I can give you a discount. Before Zhang Hao could say anything, Fang Ping eagerly asked, what's the price? My boss and the others won't be participating. Just me. For one person, there are 3 packages, 2, 5, and 8. Specifically, can you give an example? 2 means 2 packs of instant noodles or water using hands. 5 means 5 packs of instant noodles or water hands and mouth allowed. 8 means 8 packs of instant noodles or water full service, anything goes. Which package would you like, guest? I want. Before Fang Ping could finish, Zhang Hao slapped him on the back of the head, making him wince and clutch. Want what? What are we here for today? Can't you tell what's important? Save it for next time. Zhang Hao nearly rolled his eyes at him. It wasn't that he was against Fang Ping letting off steam. Such things were common in the apocalypse. But today was about training new team members. What kind of example would it set if he started playing around here? Fang Ping had to drop it, but he had to admit it was cheap. This was at least 10 times cheaper than what those girls in the back alleys charged before the apocalypse, right? Zhang Hao thought so too. In the early days of the apocalypse, awakeners could scavenge supplies easily, but by the mid to late stages the price would at least quintuple. By then they'd barely have enough to eat themselves, let alone indulge in such pleasures. Fang Ping could only apologize to her. Sorry, I'll come back another time to support your business. We have important matters to attend to. Sorry for wasting your time. It's fine, guests. Take care. Xiaoya wasn't angry. She still showed a sweet smile politely. But just as they were about to head upstairs, a burly man approached them from the opposite direction, followed by 3 lackeys. He grumbled, I've been listening to you jabber on for ages. If you're not going to play, say so earlier. You've had me waiting all this time. Xiaoya, come here. Let's try something different today. I don't mind, brother Hu. Xiaoya could only force a smile. Even if she was unwilling, she had to make a living. Seeing he hadn't brought anything, Xiaoya hesitated for a moment before saying, Brother Hu, you didn't bring any money. I don't do credit. Just a few packs of instant noodles. I'm a second-tier awakener. Do you think I'd lack your paltry supplies? They'll pay you after we're done. Now get in the room with me. I can't wait any longer. Zhou Hu roughly grabbed Xiaoya. He tried to drag her into the room. Xiaoya struggled. Brother Hu, this breaks the rules. I really can't. Smack. Zhou Hu slapped her across the face. Xiaoya fell to the ground, her cheek swelling red. Damn it. I want a freeload, so what? How much money have I given you already? Can't I have one free round? Don't you dare resist me. This time it's me and the boys, haha. Brother Hu is awesome. Let's all play together. Zhou Hu's words excited his lackeys. Xiaoya struggled, desperately screaming, No. I'm under Wu Yanfeng's protection. Aren't you afraid of offending him? Why should I be afraid of him? He's just a pretty boy. And do you really think I haven't checked? He has nothing to do with you. I don't believe he'll stick his neck out for you. Brother, who couldn't be bothered to argue further and was about to assault her along with his men. Zhang Hao stood by the door unmoved. As a girl, Su Mingyan couldn't bear to watch. However, the next second a flash of cold light appeared. 4 ice daggers shot through the air, instantly killing the 3 first-tier awakeners. The remaining dagger aimed directly at Zhou He's throat, but he caught it with both hands and crushed it into ice shards. Seeing the handsome young man standing at the door, Zhou He's expression darkened. Wu Yanfeng, do you really have to meddle? You kill my men today, and he'll kill yours tomorrow. Don't forget him a second-tier awakener too. I've decided to meddle. Besides, I won't give you the chance to leave here. Even if we're both second-tier, you and I are in completely different leagues. Wu Yanfeng didn't waste words. He spread his hands, and the moisture in the air condensed into an ice bow with frost continuously forming. With a whoosh, a long arrow shot through the air at an astonishing speed. Before Zhou, who could even react, the arrow pierced his forehead, and he fell dead. Zioya's expression was complex. Old Wu, thank you. You're a good man. Don't thank me. I'm not a good man. In the apocalypse, good men die young. I just have my own principles. Wu Yanfeng shrugged and flashed a handsome smile. In my view, others can at least rob or steal, but you have to survive by selling your body, enduring all kinds of weirdos and their demands every day. Making a living is truly hard. So no matter how much you bully the weak, you should know them. Wu Yanfeng was absolutely right. In the apocalypse, everyone has their own set of principles. Although Xiaoya was an ordinary person in this line of work, enduring all kinds of grievances, sometimes even abuse or beatings, she had her own principle: no credit allowed. No matter who it was, even an awakened, she would not make an exception. As an ordinary person, she had to have principle. If Zhou Hu could bring his underlings to freeload today, then tomorrow more people would come to freeload from her business. How could she survive then? Just like today, if Wu Yanfeng hadn't helped at best, she would have suffered endless torment every day. At worst, he would have used her and killed her on the spot. No one cared about the life or death of an ordinary person. She could have agreed to Zhou Hu without principles, but even if she survived, it would only be a miserable existence. Therefore, Xiaoya was unwilling to compromise. To be honest, she and Wu Yanfeng were merely acquaintances through business, not even friends. She never expected old Wu to step in and resolve the situation. Xiaoya revealed a sincere smile. Your principles are your own, but since you helped me, I must thank you. If you don't mind the money I earn, I can give you some food. Wu Yanfeng joked. No need, our team doesn't lack this. If you really want to thank me, how about serving me for free? A life-saving favor. Should be worth at least an hour, right? Sure, come on in. He'll serve you right now. Cough, forget it. Wu Yanfeng felt a bit awkward. He had been joking, of freeloading was never his style. Watching them banter, Zhang Hao's eyes sparkled with interest. He had clearly seen the battle just now. Wu Yanfeng had used an ice blade to pierce the air and kill 3 first-level awakened in an instant. What was most impressive was that even when facing Zhou Hu, an awakened of the same level, he decisively formed an arrow from ice and shot him from a distance with incredible speed. Being able to instantly kill a peer made Wu Yanfeng's talent extremely rare. Of course, talent was one thing, his combat awareness was also formidable. At the time, Zhou Hu was furious but hadn't realized they had reached a point of no return. In his view, was a woman really worth a life-or-death struggle between awakened? But little did he know Wu Yanfeng had immediately used a second-level skill. That arrow was no ordinary projectile. It was a long-range, high-speed type among second-level abilities. Thus, he struck decisively before Zhou Hu could react, taking him down. This was the key reason Zhang Hao was so impressed, ruthless and without hesitation. If Wu Yanfeng could advance to the 3rd level, he would undoubtedly be a force to be reckoned with. Most crucially, Zhang Hao felt he had seen him somewhere before. In his past life, he knew all the top awakened, but he couldn't find anyone matching Wu Yanfeng, not even a similar temperament. It was truly strange. Just as he was pondering this, 3 more first-level awakened charged up the stairs, furious and seeking revenge for their leader Zhou Hu. Dare to mess with our boss. You're asking for death. Brothers, Wu Yanfeng must be spent. Let's go. Avenge the boss. Kill him. Wu Yanfeng's face turned cold as he prepared to act. But Zhang Hao glanced at Fang Ping, who understood instantly. Fang Ping drew his dagger, dispatched the enemies in a few moves, and returned to his boss' side. Thanks, brother. Wu Yanfeng showed his gratitude. That skill had indeed drained him considerably. Although killing these few wouldn't have been difficult, he still appreciated the help. Fang Ping said, no need to thank me. Zhou Hu insulted my boss, so killing his men is only fair. Oh, is that so? You gentlemen seem to have principles too. Then we should get along. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Wu Yanfeng. Wu Yanfeng smiled and extended his hand. I'm Zhang Hao. They exchanged names and made a brief acquaintance. Wu Yanfeng could tell that Zhang Hao's team was extraordinary, likely very strong, so he was keen to build a connection. Zhang Hao also admired Wu Yanfeng. He was free-spirited and had his own principles. He particularly resonated with the saying that in the apocalypse, good men don't live long. The more they talked, the more they hit it off. Wu Yanfeng called over his team members, and they sat together in Xiaoya's living room with Zhang Hao's group. The door was wide open as they drank and chatted, snacking on fried peanuts. The bloody corpses lying on the floor and in the hallway were ignored, adding a peculiar atmosphere to the scene. It looked somewhat absurd. But in reality, some people know on the very first meeting whether they can become friends. Brother Zhang, this food is really lacking. A few plates of peanuts just don't cut it. If we had some cold pig tongue vermicelli with tofu skin or a small sausage platter, that would be perfect. Wu Yanfeng muttered. Xiaoya rolled her eyes full of disdain. These peanuts were earned with my sweat and blood. If you're not satisfied, go to sleep. You'll have everything in your dreams. Come on, can't you at least make a cucumber salad? Don't you have any cucumbers? I do, but are you sure you want to eat them? Seeing Xiaoya's suppressed smile, Wu Yanfeng was shocked. Damn, you're that busy and still use those. Aren't your usual customers enough for you? What else? Do you really think those men are that impressive? They're all weaklings. Aren't I better? Get lost, you're always bragging. So are you eating or not? No, I'm not. Wu Yanfeng declined. Head let someone else enjoy that, it wasn't his thing. Zhang Hao smiled helplessly. Come to my base another day. I can take care of those dishes. Really? You're not lying. No, I run a supermarket in front of the complex. Feel free to bring your team. Awesome, bro. They'll definitely drop by and bother you next time. What truly amazed Wu Yanfeng wasn't he was shocked that Zhang Hao had turned a street-side supermarket into his base without it being looted by other awakened. What did that mean? It meant they were incredibly strong and resourceful. He had to make connections no matter what. But he also had his principles. If he wanted supplies, he would trade with spirit crystals. As for Zhang Hao, he not only found Wu Yanfeng agreeable, but also thought that recruiting him into the team would be a good option. However, awakened at this stage were all proud. Wu Yanfeng might not be willing to be subordinate, so he would have to take it slow. If nothing else, being friends would still bring future benefits. After everyone had drunk their fill, Wu Yanfeng prepared to leave with his team. Before departing, he joked, Xiaoya, stay safe alone tonight. Get lost. Do you think I need your concern? Instead of fussing over me, you'd be better off scavenging more supplies and patronizing my business more often. That would be thanks enough. Xiaoya rolled her eyes at him several times. They'll try my best, but next time you should be careful. Don't let yourself be taken advantage of again when I'm not around. Wu Yanfeng chuckled. Aren't you looking out for me? That's true. Well, I'm off now, brother Zhang. Catch you later. Take care. No need to see me out. Wu Yanfeng waved his hand and left with an air of nonchalance. This time he had killed Zhou Hu, and others wouldn't care about principles or lack thereof. All they could see was that Wu Yanfeng had slain a second-tier awakener for Xiaoya Sake, making it easy to realize her business was under his protection. Other awakeners, if they harbored any other thoughts, would have to weigh whether they were up to the mark. Xiaoya sighed. I owe him another huge favor. Zhang Hao glanced at her and couldn't help but ask curiously, does old Wu like you? I think you might as well be with him. At least you'd have someone to rely on. Impossible. He can't possibly like me. Why? Because he's never touched me. What? Fang Ping and the others were stunned. Never touched her. How could that be? Then what about the sounds from the room? Sensing their confusion, Xiaoya said dejectedly. Old Wu has come many times, but each time, he just lies down and lets me give him a massage. He's never made any inappropriate move. Sometimes I've even taken off my clothes to seduce him, but he sternly refused. And he got angry, telling me not to do it again or he'd never come back. I know he despises me, he looks down on me. Old Wu won't even touch me. How could he possibly like me? Holy shit. This guy is incredible. Unmoved by temptation, just for a massage. Xiaoya might not be stunning, but she was still a pleasant-looking beauty. She was completely naked, and old Wu could still remain so composed. Fang Ping and the others didn't understand, but they were utterly astonished. Zhang Hao, however, held a different opinion. After a moment of thought, he said, maybe old Wu likes you too much, so he's afraid to take that step. I don't think he's the type to meddle in others' affairs. Being good to someone. Either it's driven by lust, or there's an ulterior motive. Xiaoya was just an ordinary person. What could Wu Yanfeng possibly want from her? If he didn't even covet her body, it had to be love, right? But love was too rare in the apocalypse. Some loves couldn't even be called love. Now everyone could still scavenge some food, but when resources became scarce, couples would betray each other over a single sausage, and men would offer women to others for food. Zhang Hao had seen too many such things. He never harbored any illusions or yearned for love. He felt that such emotions were a burden in the apocalypse, even somewhat superfluous. He didn't look down on those who insisted on love in the apocalypse, but he himself wouldn't aspire to such feelings. He just wanted to survive, and if he could make it to the end, that would be even better. Women only slowed down his zombie-killing speed. Is that so? Maybe. Xiaoya's heart stirred slightly, but then fell silent again. Even if old Wu did like her, what then? She was just an ordinary person and long since impure. How could she be worthy of him? Whether before the apocalypse or after she had never dared to hope for precious love, she didn't deserve it. After bidding farewell to Xiaoya, Zhang Hao returned to the supermarket. Over the next few days, the team harvested a total of 365 crystals. Combined with the previous accumulation, they now had a total of 1,339 first-tier crystals and only one second-tier crystal. Su Mo and Su Mingyan had also successively advanced to the second tier. They had also grasped their own abilities. Su Mo could manipulate people's shadows, performing silent assassinations, an art called shadow manipulation. Su Mingyan's ability was light healing. In short, she could use light to heal allies with remarkably effective. As long as it wasn't a lost limb, she could heal it completely. They now had an Awakener team with a healer, but as time passed, quite a few nearby Awakener teams had emerged, most of them first tier. The majority of these people were still unaware of the existence of crystals and were still fumbling around. There were also a few second-tier Awakeners. These teams usually discovered the crystals by accidentally smashing zombies' brains. Gradually, teams led by second-tier Awakeners formed, with members mostly being first-tier. Their combat strength wasn't impressive, but their numbers were considerable. Wu Yanfeng had also used the elimination of Zhou Hu to build up his team's reputation, making it hard for ordinary people to provoke them. But the increase in Awakener teams also led to dwindling resources nearby. Places like Jinwei residential area, where killing zombies was easy, had long been looted clean. The streets had been cleared of many zombies, and there was basically no supplies left. Many people had their eyes on Zhang Hao's supermarket, but dared not act. On one hand, it was because of his good relationship with Wu Yanfeng. On the other, they were unsure of their strength. Besides, no one was foolish. If someone dared to set up a base in such a conspicuous location, they were either reckless or unafraid of others' schemes. On the second floor living room by the window, Zhang Hao was stroking the raven's smooth feathers, looking extremely content, while the raven assumed a posture of enjoyment. Just then Fang Ping came upstairs, his expression hesitant. Boss, more and more Awakeners have been passing by our supermarket lately. Some even knock on the door pretending to probe our numbers. Supplies are running low nearby, and they seem to be getting restless. How many teams are there currently? Zhang Hao asked calmly. Only 2 on the surface, but I'm not sure about the hidden ones. I estimate maybe 4 teams. Too few. It's 6. 6 teams. Boss, how do you know? Fang Ping was astonished. You haven't been underground long enough to eavesdrop on enemy intel, so I sent Crow to scout. They don't know about mutant creatures yet, so they won't pay attention to a crow eavesdropping nearby. Zhang Hao explained. I see. Should we make a move now? Not yet. We need an opportunity to wipe them out in one fell swoop and use this to deter the others. But what if they don't act soon? Do we just keep waiting? Fang Ping asked again. No. If they haven't made a move by dawn today, we'll forget about them. The granary is far more important than these people's lives. If we delay too long, the grain will spoil. Zhang Hao shook his head. Boss, what if they break in while we're away? That's simple. Spray red paint on the main door with 8 big characters as a warning. If they ignore it, and Interwell, settle the score with them when we return. Which 8 characters? Fang Ping inquired. Zhang Hao gave a grim smile, revealing a cruel edge. This place is claimed, trespassers die.